Hey everyone! Old school Pokemon here. I'm back again with the PokeFlipz Podcast. Joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. And tonight we have a very special guest joining us, Poke Knowledge, PK. How are you both doing tonight?
Very
Doing
well.
good,
How are
man.
you?
Thanks for having me on. I'm a long time listener, first time caller on this one. But no, I'm looking forward to chatting with both of you guys. And I think I mentioned it in one of my lives a few nights ago, is talking about your guys' podcast. How I don't know if it was really an inspiration for the type of content I make on my channel, but it's definitely something that I've taken a lot from and learned a lot from. So I'm excited to be part of it for once.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
excited.
it'll be fun to have you on.
We're
Been
excited to have you. It's been a
been
long
too
time
long.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone knows who PK is at this point, but I don't know if you want to do a quick little thing. I don't know if you want to just talk a little bit about, like, we're all going to be in Charlotte. That's like our next event in line. I think Nick will also be at Long Beach. But PK, if you want to talk a little bit about what you've got going on for the one person maybe that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, I I run a channel, Poke Knowledge Cards. I go by PK. I do a lot of long form content. So if you like this type of content, like you're watching right now, the more long form, my channel would be good for that. But no, other than that, most people in the hobby, or at least in this little group of ours, know me. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Charlotte, and I know me and Nick are going to be driving down together. Nick, are you sure you're ready for that drive? That seems like a brutal drive. I know you and Jake did it last year, correct?
Yeah, me and Jake did it last year. The ride down isn't too bad. The ride home is going to be rough though. That's the rough part right there. The ride down, you're excited. Last year was the first time driving down, so I got to see all the beautiful sights along the highway. But the ride down, you're excited to go to the actual event, hang out with everyone, and then the ride home is just misery because you're exhausted. You have nothing to look forward to about, and aside from getting back home and starting up packaging again. But it'll be good. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm definitely been looking at my inventory and what I want to bring. So for everybody out there who doesn't know, I'm going to be vending for the first time. This will be my first collecticon. Or my first collecticon vending. My first collecticon was Denver, but I went there strictly as just a spectator, and I wanted to look at like how everything was kind of run and get a lot of like thoughts from people. And from everybody I talked to, everybody says like that real sweet spot is like the high grade cheap dollar card. So PSA 10s between that 30 to 120 range, it seems like a lot of people have kind of found that to be a consensus. But then you have the other end of the spectrum. You have Dan, where Dan just brings all the super high end stuff, super expensive packs. So I've heard, different things from different people.
One
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. I usually do well with like that 50 to like $200 range.
Okay.
Is kind of my sweet spot with stuff. But then I do bring a little bit of everything. Some high end, some lower end, some raw cards. WotC's always hit or miss with the raw cards. Modern is always fantastic. Modern packs are hit or miss. So just a little bit of everything. But mainly focused on that like $50 to $200 range.
one thing that
I'm
I've
just
always
looking to do
said,
modern PSA 10s.
yeah,
There we go.
one thing that I've always said is that if you bring good stuff priced well, it will sell. I think people always look for a magic formula. They look for, like, do I need raw? Does it need to be $7? Does it need to be $17? Does it need to be XYZ? Fibonacci sequence, whatever. People get like way too specific on trying to crack the code on what will sell. Bring decent stuff priced well, and you'll move stuff. Like, the way that it works, there's thousands of people going through there. The closer to the front you are, the better. But a lot of it is like fairly luck based. The great thing about eBay, you pop up a listing, if you're low list or if you're the highest promoted rate on eBay, you are going to be put in front of tens of thousands of eyes with like a PSA 10 Charizard, with a PSA 10 Pikachu. At Collectacon, you might have 1,000 people pass in front of your table. You need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of like the right place, right time, right person. So there's no like magic formula. I think people way overanalyze, way like just way try to over prepare for it. And then you go around and you see some people's tables and you see the prices and it's like, are you trying to take everything home? I don't know. If you price well, cash deals, in person, things will move.
Yeah, when I was walking around, that was definitely like the first thing that I noticed because I feel like I have a pretty decent sense of like prices, current market prices for a lot of cards. And when I was walking around, I was quickly able to just like more or less, like Dan said, just, oh, that card will never sell today, you know? But yeah, all the stuff that was priced right and the people that I've talked to, it seems like stuff moves. And I have a couple, I call them like the field grading plays. Everybody has a pile of just called, the field grading plays. You're hoping to get a 10 and you miss something and it hit an 8. And you still don't really know to this day why it got an 8, but it did. But everybody has like a little pile of those, and maybe they're not worth it to sell on eBay for 19.99 shipped. So you just throw them in a $20 box and hope somebody comes by and offers you 18, and it more or less bails you out of some of these cards, it bails you out of that $15 grading fee plus $3 for the card because there's no shipping, there's nothing, no eBay fees at the end of that, and it kind of bails you out of those prices, and everybody leaves happy in that sense. So I got a bunch of those too. I'm just gonna do like I have like long boxes, kind of like this. I store some of my cards in like just long boxes like this. So I
Yeah.
just put like $20, and if you want them, you could have them.
That's something actually I've not
There you
yet
go.
done, but I've seen success from other vendors that they'll have like a shoebox, a graded shoebox, $25 slabs, $50 slabs, whatever it may be, just have a set price point. And if someone wants to take like, hey, can I have 10 of them for $400 instead of 500, whatever it may be, like you're going to wheel and deal, especially if people are taking quantity,
yeah.
volume. One thing that you made me think of though, when you started talking, I remember when you went live, I think it was Denver. The day I left early, like I set up for Saturday, if I remember correctly, and then I left early Sunday, and I watched yours on like Monday when you walked around and you were like, they're never going to sell that. That's priced so high. Like the way that you walked around live right in front of people's tables, like some of your commentary was just so funny. And I know that you've mentioned it,
Yeah.
but you might be recording some of your actual vending, right? You might be recording it, not live, but recording it and then doing like a post-edited kind of vlog style. Have you thought more on that? Do you have any
Yeah.
more like to talk about there?
Yeah. So what it's something, well, because I've never vended, so I'm gonna do something like a GoPro or something that's gonna have ton of memory space, and it's gonna be able to record the whole thing and plus sound. And I think it does two things. One, it kind of gives me a record of the event, something I can make content out of afterwards. But most importantly, I think it gives me a little bit of protection. So if somebody comes up and some shady stuff happens, somebody like tries to steal a card or something, at least I have that on video of that. And it could, and Rattle's made enough videos, Opossum's made enough videos where a lot of the times it's just security cam footage after the fact. So it'd be good to have that. And something I'm going to be doing at Charlotte Collecticon too is I'm going to be doing in-person consignments too. So if anybody's is there on site and they want to drop off cards at my table first thing in the morning and either pick them up the end of that day or the end of the event, they're welcome to. And then, I'm just going to do like a flat 10% consignment rate or with a $5 minimum. So that $5 minimum, I think, keeps you from just getting like, here's a bunch of PSA sixes of like trainer gallery cards, stuff like this. But and if I'm gonna be holding people's cards and vending people's cards, I need to make sure that, like, if any shady stuff happens, I have that on video and stuff. But,
Good idea. Yeah.
yeah, and the way the consignment is they don't have to ship cards to me, they bring them to me in person. They're just gonna have a sheet of paper that has every card laid out, the grade. If they wanna add the cert number, they're welcome to. And I got a bunch of these for the event, so like, I'm sure you guys recognize these. They're like all the different color label things for
Yep.
prices.
Yep.
So every consignee will just have their own color. So if you brought me your cards, it's like, okay, you're green. So I could easily identify their cards quick. Just make it quicker for me. And I don't want to deal with any shipping. I don't want to be mailing cards back to people. So it's same day. Drop off your cards, pick them up same day, or pick them up at the end of the event, stuff like that. And the
There
reason
you
why I'm
go.
offering that is because that's something I really wanted when I was in Denver, and nobody was really offering it. So,
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I think you'll do well with that.
Dan, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you've got. I mean, you've got Rattle, right? I think you mentioned actually Rattle's coming. So you're gonna have video footage. You've got Rattle on the speed dial, so that if and when something
Well,
goes wrong, you've got the video ready to go right out the door.
well, this is the thing too, is I know Rattle's going to be sitting behind my table for a lot of that convention. So
There you go.
not only will I have Rattle on speed dial, I'll also have him sitting next to me. So
But yeah, I think like I went to Denver and I only vended for Saturday, and I've done that for a few collecticons at this point. I've just given up my table. Like I've not done consignments where I've taken other people's things in and charged a fee or anything, but I've just like bought a table and then I've just like given it away for half the convention. But I actually just booked
yeah,
my flights this morning. I'm gonna be in Charlotte the whole time. I think that's a good idea. I think it's a daunting thing. Like Nick and I were full time, and even you, PK, for being like a part timer in Pokemon, you are deep in it. I mean, you're a YouTuber with more than twice the subs either of our channels have, with 5 times the subs almost that this channel has. Um, you're deep into it for a part timer. And for a lot of people, though, going to a convention is like a big deal. It's a lot of money. It's a big thing. Having to front $250 for a table, a few $100 if you're talking with cases, to be able to offer someone a spot for 2 or 3 graded cards if they want to just pop them into a case, see how it goes. Like that's a great idea. That's a great service. It'll
yeah,
be
and
interesting to
that's what
hear.
it's for.
Yeah.
It's a guy that has a handful of slabs who's like, I have 5 slabs I want to sell. I'm not gonna buy a table, buy a case to sell 5 cards. It just doesn't make sense. Or if you have that one guy who's super smart, gets the event like super early, picks up a card that day and is like, oh, this card's underpriced. I'm bringing this card to PK. Let's see if he can sell it by the end of the day for like, they make 20%, I make 10%, stuff like that. But
Hmm.
we'll see.
Yeah.
See, this is a tricky thing that I talked about. Like, I'm gonna be self-insuring everybody's cards, so I haven't really figured out like the logistics of if somebody. I mean, I doubt this happens, but like if somebody brings super high dollar amount cards, like not that say somebody's going to, but if somebody brings like a first edition Charizard, that's worth a couple grand, I don't really want to self-insure a Charizard. If they want to bring me a couple like 10 $100 slabs, I could self-insure $1,000. Like that doesn't bother me. It's where the comfort zone will start to get a little nerve-wracking when people are like, "Hey PK, here's 10 grand worth of cards," and it's like, "All right, now I just can't take a bathroom break while I'm there." I have to put those cards smack dab in front of me. I have to watch it like a hawk. It does change that a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my only nervous thing. So I might look into some sort of business insurance right before I go there just to like kind of dot those I's and cross those T's in case that possibility does happen.
And if you want to message me after this, I know that it's kind of a meme sometimes. I think I talk about insurance a lot, and I think it's kind of a common thing that people are just way underinsured, not insured at all. We always say consult professionals. People don't care to, whatever. But I had a recent success story with an insurance claim for a consigner mailing stuff into me. Rattle actually made a video. Rattle made a video several months ago on an inbound consignment that had gotten lost, stolen, whatever it may be. Police got involved. My insurance company just paid out recently, and I'm covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm covered inbound and outbound as long as signature's there. I'm covered at conventions. I'm covered at my place of business. It is a very great thing. And if you're buying frequently third party like shipping insurance, UPS, FedEx, USPS, it could pay for itself depending on the volume you're doing. And so, yeah, definitely feel free to message me after this, and I can give you all the info.
Yeah. Plus, if I'm going to be holding people cards at a high dollar amount, I probably will want to do that. But I've heard the horror stories that you had to go through just getting that money. I mean, how long was that entire insurance process from beginning to end for you.
Yeah, I got into more depth and details than I should have probably in my recent live stream, and I don't want to go back through it all, but it was like it was 7 or 8 months. It was originally an insurance claim was opened when it was undelivered for over a month, no tracking updates, and then it ultimately got delivered, and then a long story. It was talked about in my recent live, but ultimately the consignor got paid out for the full like market value of the cards, and I had to eat like the deductible. I had to eat all the time interfacing with the insurance, with the police, all that stuff. But that's what insurance is there for. It was more money than I could stomach, just like writing off.
I feel better just self-insuring like $1,000, because $1,000, it's like, yeah, that really, really sucks. And chances are, if somebody were able to steal like consigners cards out of my booth, they're also stealing my cards too, and it would probably be like a decent haul for that person. But yeah, you can pay out, $1,000 or $2,000, but like if it starts to get to the crazy amounts, that's where the comfort levels start. And that is absolute worst case scenario, though, right? So we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I don't think I would. Even with all the videos of stuff getting stolen, I've never worried about stuff getting stolen at collectacons. Maybe I'm just too naive, but I think everything. I do not worry one bit about anything that I have in the case.
Yeah.
If someone wants to look at one of those high-end cards, obviously I hand them the card. I have my eyes on that person the entire time.
Yeah.
Sure.
So people looking at these $100, $200 cards, they could, I don't know if I want to say it, but they could very easily walk off, and I probably wouldn't even notice. Because when I am like taking out one of those high-end cards, my eyes do not leave that person, and so if they can't do anything. And then I won't take out more than one high-end card at a time. So that's another thing that I do. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. The stuff you got to worry about is the stuff that's not in your cases. That's just like loose on the table. So that kind of stuff, I just put cheap stuff out. Stuff that if someone does walk off with it, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
For sure.
Yeah, that's Charlotte. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then you know how Charlotte is. And I said this on my channel. If anybody out there is watching this live real time or after the fact and you're on the fence, and this is assuming you could afford the expense to go to Charlotte, like meaning the plane ticket and the hotel doesn't make or break you. But if you are looking to do an event in person, and I recommend Collecticons to people, and I think Charlotte is that Collecticon this year. And I was talking about it on my channel, like the trade nights and everything after the fact, everybody's welcome. Trade nights are not a secret. It's usually in the hotel lobby or agreed upon place. Feel free to come up to people. Like everybody's accepted in this community. It's pretty awesome. So if people are thinking about doing it, I recommend to everybody out there to try it once.
Yeah, and there are 5 sections. There are 5 entire sections where you can come find us. I think Nick is over towards Chumley. I forget the number. I'm section 30. There's like an L. There's like 4 sections that are touching each other over by in the area where I'm gonna be. I'm leading one. Ray is leading one. Weedle's Warehouse, Chris is leading one, and then Mason is also leading one, and then Nick is like on his own island over there with Chumley somewhere.
Way in front of you,
Nick. It's me and you all
the
together.
crap back to you.
Thomas
No,
Wheeler.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thomas Wheeler had a question for you, Nick.
Let's go for it.
Off topic, but how's the card sorter for Nick going? Was the machine worth it?
It's going well. So when I bought it, I was fully on board with TCG Player, and I wanted to list every single type of card on TCG Player outside of like the hit cards and above for modern stuff. And so with that, it was going to be a lot more worthwhile than how it's actually turned out to be. I've since completely stopped selling on TCG Player. So a lot of those bulkier type cards, I just went ahead and added on into bulk boxes. But I do still use the card sorter for each modern set that comes out for my openings that I do. So it really helps save a lot of time with that type of stuff. And so where it was still expensive, but where it was only $2,500 compared to some of these other card sorters, I still think it was definitely worthwhile to get, just because for each set that comes out, it saves me a lot of time, and I'm able to do other stuff while the machine's working. But now it's something that I more or less just use for like a week, 4 or 5 times a year. I'm not using it every single day, not even close anymore. But for each set that comes out, I do fire it up, and if I ever do want to get back into TCG Player or selling more of those 99-cent singles on eBay, I do think it'll be worthwhile, and I am glad I got it. Yeah, I don't think I would. I'm glad I bought this one and not something like the Roka. Because I was considering that one, but with the cost, I said let me try this one out. If I use it a lot, then I'll think about getting the Roka. And so I am very glad that I went with this cheaper one over the Roka.
Yeah, I have the same. It's called the Magic Sorter, right? I have the same
Yep.
sorter as Nick. I've not yet unboxed it because it landed while I was just back from getting my appendix out, and I wasn't allowed to lift it. And then I just have like so much stuff I'm trying to get through before I get to setting that up. And I think it'll be early August. I think it'll be a couple weeks from now that I get it set up. I just have certain things that I want to get tidied up before then. And then I have like 50 5-row monster boxes that I gotta start processing through. So that'll start happening. Bulk will just go out to Troll and Toad, whatever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that opening. I wish Nick would make a couple YouTube videos about his experiences with it, but we know that he's retired from YouTube since he's gone full eBay Live.
Yeah, YouTube is dead at this point. With being on eBay Live 6 days a week, YouTube is dead.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
killing that eBay Live. How are you liking it, Nick? Like I so there's a couple questions I gotta ask you. One, like, are you enjoying it? But number two, like, are you just enjoying it because there's no competition on the platform, or are you looking at it, like, into the future of what happens when more competition does enter that platform? Are you a little nervous about that?
I'm absolutely loving it. The live streams themselves are an awesome time. I thoroughly enjoy those. I usually go anywhere from like 3 hours up to 5 hours. And time just absolutely flies by every single live stream. Now that I have this dedicated setup, it makes things a lot better as well. So absolutely loving that aspect of it. The prep before and then the packaging afterwards is a little bit rough. I think we were talking about it in the premiere. Oh no, that was our first recording. We talked about it. So I've the past couple of weeks I've been focusing just about exclusively on eBay Live stuff. My actual eBay store has definitely suffered because of the eBay Lives. I haven't listed anything new in like a month. And so more and more of what I'm making on eBay is coming directly from the lives, which is my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to have like everything sub $5 listed by it now in my eBay store, and then maybe like the super high end listed on eBay is by it now. But then everything in between, the majority of the stuff that I'm selling, just straight through eBay Live. So that's the ultimate goal. Not quite there yet, but we're making progress towards that goal. And as far as the competition goes, right now there's very little. There's a couple people doing Pokemon. Shout out Weedle's Warehouse. He's a good eBay Live seller. But then aside from him, there's a few other Pokemon eBay Live sellers that I don't think are as good as me or Weedle. So I'm not concerned about that right now. I'm not really concerned about it in the future either. That's kind of why I started streaming 6 days a week right now, where there is no competition, so I can build up my following. right now, and then when eBay Live opens up to more people, I kind of have that head start, if you will.
Well, I know where I'm going to be selling, who I'm going to be selling those $20 slabs to. So my goal for Charlotte
That's
is now
one
to
thing.
sell all remaining supply to that man on the screen right there, everybody.
Yeah, every collectacon, it's gonna be it's gonna be the old school Pokemon buyout we're all waiting for.
I am planning. I'm hoping to buy a ton of stuff in Long Beach and Charlotte because long term I am concerned about inventory. I'm good for a while right now, but I typically do 50 auctions a night, times 6. That's 300 items a week. That's a lot of cards to be burning through. So I'm good for a while, but I do want to kind of like jump the gun a little bit, so I'm not scrambling when I do run out of good stuff. I want to have a decent stockpile of stuff to offer through these eBay lives.
Hey, you bring cash, I'll have inventory on Sunday evening in Charlotte. So
I was just going to say, Nick, I'm one phone call away at any point, but I'll hook you up. So
there we go.
you're not that long of a drive if there's dollar bills involved. So.
$100 bills preferred for sure.
Yeah, unmarked bills.
Yeah.
And I want it in like one of those old school like bank bags that have the big dollar sign on it. Like I robbed a bank. I want it in one of those. That's the only way I accept money from now on.
There we go.
So we'll let PK start first here, but the Green Shiz, Josh wants to know, is everyone sending Ultra Modern to CGC now for the new price point? I know that I recently made a video, a little bit of memeing going on. It was funny how many people thought I might have been like ultra serious for that video. But I think PK, you're sending for the first time potentially to BGS. So if you want to talk a little bit about your split between PSA, BGS, and potentially CGC, if you see any strats for them.
Yeah, so BGS hasn't happened. Somebody wrote a comment there like, PK, you haven't sent those Chinese promos yet, but if you like this, I don't know if you guys can see, but this table is like, these are all stacks of those promos graded in 10. So I've already done that play like a lot of times, but no, I'm going to be sending like the super easy, modern, easy to grade promos. So Chinese cards, Japanese promos, SV001 type stuff. I think Dan's doing something similar. But as for CGC, stick a fork in them, they're done. That's like what I'm saying on CGC. I think anyone sending to CGC right now is just hurting themselves in the long term. I don't think that the value is going to be there in the 10s that people think they are. I know Dan's talked about this on some videos, especially all the buyouts people did of 9.5s. Even with that extra $5 to cross grade them to get 10s, the margins aren't going to be there. In the future, I think CGC will hand out those gem mint 10s like candy. Everything will more or less be those. There will be a few of those pristine 10s. People won't value them the same because when you think of Beckett, you think of the gold pristine 10 as being a field grading play for the black label. That's the way you look at it. And the reason and why CGC decided to use gold pristine 10 to be their best when that is not Beckett's best. I never think of gold pristine as, I think of that as a field grading play. And I think a lot of people out there feel that way. And I think everything like CGC has done, I would have done differently. And maybe that doesn't mean much to people out there, but I feel like I have a little bit of a pulse on the market. And I just don't see that pristine label holding the premium. I think a lot of people like hope and believe it will. And at the end of the day, all these CGC slabs are not going to play out the way a lot of people think they are. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there probably grading like really good cards. Like, can you imagine sending like Worlds promos or something to CGC? Like, the thought of that is just, I feel bad for all those people, you know? So
I think my biggest strategy for CGC is when I have so much of one card. Like if I have 100 or unlimited amounts of some card, I want to send it in all 3 slabs. And CGC, I don't know how long it will last because maybe like the wave they'll get with reholders, maybe the wave they'll get with the new label, new pricing, whatever, it might slow their turnaround time down too much. But as of right now, like today, I'm selling $180, $200 perfect Nagaba Eevees and Evolutions. And my Beckett ones aren't back yet. They won't be back for two months plus. My PSA ones aren't back yet. They won't be back for 2 months plus. So when I'm selling CGC 10s for 80, CGC perfect 10s for 180, and I know perfect 10s are no longer a thing today onward, but like there's definitely still a play when you're looking at super modern cards that are very high quantity, very high quality, and you can just turn them around in 2 weeks. How things will pan out in the coming months, though, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, one of the videos you made, Dan, that I felt like you had a lot of good points, but it was missing like a huge caveat to it, was you made a great video talking like, well, even though a lot of people think that CGC is going to hand out 10s easier, when you look at their 10 rate opposed to PSA's rate, it's not that strong, right? Meaning CGC is still a harsher grader than PSA. The only problem with those numbers, and everybody out there with watching this already knows the answer to that. It's like, well, all those numbers that you use to say that CGC hands out less tens takes into account all those early CGC like graded cards. And we all know at the beginning CGC's grading scales were way, way, way harder. So the amount of cards that were graded under those harsh scales are definitely like pushing those numbers to make it look like CGC doesn't hand out tens as easily. But all the like recent numbers are kind of proving that different, no, Dan?
One thing that we'll have to, I know people don't like to wait and see, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we'll have new data. We'll have hundreds of thousands of cards of new data, but people want to know like today, right? People want to know today. I've heard some anecdotes already. I've heard some people getting back 100 cards, 50 cards, getting the results today from cards that they had sent like 2 weeks ago that were like queued in, ready to go, waiting for the new label. But we'll just have to wait and see how they pan out, what they end up being. But yeah, I mean, we don't need to turn this into a CGC versus PSA. We don't need to dive too deeply. But per the data that I was looking at,
out there,
yeah, like
be careful, because I think a lot of people, and this is the thing, it's like when we talk about graded cards, we're not talking about it as from the collector side. We're talking about it. That's the name of this podcast, PokeFlipz. We're
yep.
talking about it. If you're going to be a reseller of these cards, meaning you're grading these are not going into your PC. These are something you plan to. And if you're grading a card with the sole intention to sell that card, your intention should also be to maximize profit, right? And where I stand right now today, I do not see that as being your best option to maximize profits. But if you're doing this as a collector, you love CGC, you love the clarity of the slabs, because CGC hands down has a better slab than PSA. If you love all that stuff, go for it. But if you're doing it because you want to flip them onto the market and help grow your inventory and grow your collection by selling cards and doing all this, there's better routes than CGC in my opinion. So
Yeah,
I will. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it always depends on your goals. You always need to know what your goals are. Don't just blindly hear and trust anyone. Don't just blindly hear and follow anyone. Be that a YouTuber, be that a grading company, whatever that may be. Like always just know what your goals are and then do the things that will get you closer to your goals day by day. And sorry, Nick, to cut you off there.
You're good. You're good. Do you want to raise your gain just a smidge, Dan? I think you lowered it too much.
Oh, I can.
But I was gonna say, I'm definitely going to be using CGC. I was kind of pissed at them because whenever Paldea came out, that was what was that, like a month ago now? I sent off it was like 50, 60 cards in the CGC of the Paldea hits. The ones that I didn't think were gonna get PSA 10s. I sent those off to CGC to kind of get them into plastic, get them back really quick. And with the whole change that happened with CGC, they held on to those cards until just recently. They finally shipped them out today. And I'm assuming they have the new labels now. I hope they do after that wait. But I actually did pretty well with the grades. I got a few 10s, which I was kind of surprised by. A lot of 9.5s, and then a couple 9s as well. But I was pleasantly surprised by those grades. Maybe I just pre-graded them super harshly, but I thought for sure none of them would PSA 10, and I ended up getting a lot of 9.5s, which was nice. So we'll have to see what they look like when they come back. I did get one pristine 10, so I'm super excited to see what that new label looks like. But yeah, no, I'm gonna plan on utilizing CGC more often, especially because of their lower price points and the quicker turnaround times. I think that's still a play. Mainly because I'm just more so just looking for stuff to sell. So the majority of my stuff's still gonna go to PSA, but I will still send some cards off to CGC just to kind of get some stuff moving to start selling. Because people really do like their plastic. So I think that's definitely the way to go. And you can't beat sub $10 grading with the membership, and then their 2 weeks to a month turnaround time. PSA's turnaround time has been slowly increasing, it seems. They were doing really good at some point, getting submissions back in like 2 months, 3 months. Now it's kind of like 3 months is like the minimum, which kind of stinks. So I'll definitely be utilizing CGC, and I'm excited to see what the pricing looks like for CGC cards compared to PSA cards. Once everything kind of the dust settles on everything, it's going to be a while. I think there's going to be a couple weeks of their CGC mania where pricing is really really strong out of the gate, and then it's going to fall way off a cliff, and then I think it'll start coming back up and kind of level out. I'm optimistic and hopeful that it'll be a little bit closer to the PSA grades. I don't think it'll ever match PSA grades, but I do think and I hope that it becomes a little bit closer than the PSA pricing.
Yeah, one thing we'll have to see how it pans out, but I actually just did pull up PokeMetrics. Shout out to them. Unfortunately, PokeMetrics might be ceasing to exist in the future. It might be ceasing to update from here on out. I don't know if anyone else is in the Discord for PokeMetrics. I don't know if anyone else is aware. But yeah, that might not be updating into the future, but it's a resource I've tapped into a lot. Looking at the past year, PSA has given out approximately 40-45% of PSA 10s to Pokemon cards, and CGC is more like 33% or so. Who knows if they're apples to apples? Who knows if they're grading the same things? But one thing that I talked about in recent videos, and not just CGC versus PSA, because there's also BGS, there's also other companies. But like one thing that I think PSA will have to reckon with in the coming years, in the coming decade, in the coming decades, very long focus. Card quality these days is so much higher than it has historically been, and PSA is a very easy grader, relatively speaking. There are ultra-modern sports cards that get 90% PSA 10s. There are ultra-modern Pokemon cards that get 90% PSA 10s. If you are a discerning collector who wants to achieve a top 10 percentile, a top 25 percentile Pokemon card, sports card, whatever it may be, you cannot achieve that with PSA. There are cards like the 001 SVP that 90% of them get PSA 10s. And you go to Beckett, you've got to pay 10 times the price to only get a top 25 percentile or top 20 percentile card. And that's a whole different conversation if the black labels are too overvalued, and because 20% of those cards get a black label at BGS as of today. So how these different companies will serve the market, I think PSA has a stronghold, has a foothold. Like, I think they own the vintage Pokemon market, the mid-era Pokemon market, the low pop, high chase, vintage, historic Pokemon cards. And I honestly don't think that will ever be pierced. But modern, ultra modern, both sports and Pokemon, I think that's where I know that's where the highest volumes are graded. And I think that's what CGC's after. I think that's what CGC and BGS are after. And I think that's where they do a better job distinguishing a higher tier card. Because PSA just gives over 50% of them, over 60, 70% of them 10s. whereas BGS has that Black Label 10. I do kind of worry about CGC losing the branding aspect of the Perfect 10. Now it's only called Pristine. The Perfect 10 is gone, but we'll have to see how it all develops in the coming years.
But Dan, when you mentioned those 10 rates, you were just talking CGC 10. So obviously 33%, that doesn't include all the CGC 9.5. So
Oh,
when
that's
you add in
9.5
all
plus.
CGC,
That's 9.5
that's
plus.
9.5 plus that 33%.
Yeah, that's Gem Mint plus. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, that's just another reason why I don't love CGC is you're also paying you're getting less value for your cards, and then you're also getting a lower, 10 rate. I don't know. Like I just can't get behind CGC. They've done too many people wrong in the past. They're done in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And I mentioned in my last live, I said I'm liking to use a lot of people as kind of the canary in the coal mine type aspect. And if things start working out and all these plays do work out for people, listen, I like money. So if things do work out, I'll be willing to do those plays too. And everybody's like, we'll just see how it works out. I just personally don't believe it's going to work out. But if I'm wrong, you better believe your ass I'll be there doing those plays. So we'll see.
There we go. Loyal to the dollar. Like a good
Yeah.
businessman.
The old PokeFlipz motto.
Yeah. Professor Birch did have a question. I know, look forward. If anyone wants to follow PK on his socials, if you're not already there, if you are there and you didn't know, I think it's the 18th. Is it the 18th you'll have Nat Turner on?
Yeah, so right now it hasn't been canceled. It's still scheduled for
Okay.
July 18th at 2 p.m. Nat Turner, the president and CEO, will be on my channel for an interview.
But yeah, I don't know if you see it yet. Professor Birch had a question. He wanted to hear a little commentary about your graded pack submission. And then I think you've already mentioned it in a couple of your lives recently, but you'll probably have some kind of a pack grading question for him in your live stream with him.
Yeah, so we could figure out. So it's 137 times 30. So I sent 137 cards to PSA for pack grading. So that works out to be $4,110 just in grading fees for packs. A lot of them were super modern. I didn't send them myself. I did it through a consignment service, the Z&G consignment service, where he'll send your cards to PSA for you, or in my case, packs. Once I sent those packs to Z&G, shout out to old Jim Carson out there. He instantly changed that policy. No more packs being accepted unless they were vintage. But I ruined that for everybody. But at the time, it was worth it. I was looking at a lot of these. I still listen. I'm overly bullish on too many things. I still think I'm going to be rewarded on this play. So, but I'll tell you right now, if I talk to Nat and after July 18th, my opinions change, it might be worth it to have like a phone call with James and talk about like the authentic route or something like that. So
that's one
Are
thing.
they still out at PSA? I'm assuming they are.
what was that, Nick?
Are the packs still out at PSA? I'm assuming they are.
Otherwise, they'd be up for
still in,
auction. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still in stage 4. It's been
Man.
so he sent those out. I want to say April or early May. So
They could easily be another 3 months. I mean, the last couple pack submissions that I did were slower than cards, at least for me. But we know that PSA abides by FIFO, FIFO, not what most industries do. First in, first out. First in, F off is what PSA abides by. I don't know if you want to ask Nat about their FIFO practices, but probably not.
yeah, no, I'm just interested to have him on. And if any guys have ever watched any Nat interviews in the past, and this is mainly for a lot of people in the chat, I know you've watched a few of them, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty transparent, but he's also a businessman. He's also the CEO of PSA. So his answers are exactly what you expect somebody in his position to give you those type of answers. But I mean, he seems to be pretty understanding. And one of the things that Nat does himself is he enjoys the pack rating aspect of PSA. So we'll see. And who knows? Maybe I'll get super lucky and he'll go, "We didn't change the pack rating scales." And then I'll give him perfect examples of it. Be like, this is exactly what I'll say to him. I'll be like, "Listen, one of my friends out there, he opened up Japanese base set box. It was a different variant of that Japanese base set box. On the cover art for the people super deep down the rabbit hole, the Pokeball was shifted down a little bit. It was short crimp base set Japanese packs. So there was a rumor with that booster box with those type of short crimp packs, there was a potential that you could have no rarity type cards in it. No rarity for Japanese is equivalent of like English first edition base. And this is for some people out there too. But so uh, Japanese booster boxes have 60 packs opposed to English boxes, which are 36 packs. And he just took a random sampling of 10 packs, sent them to PSA, got those original packs back, and they were all like 8s and 9s. And then he just took another random sampling of 10 packs. The next time he sent them, they got 6s and 7s. So there's definitely something going on where you can take, because that box has 60 packs and he sent 20 of them and each submission was wildly different. So it does appear that they've changed those grading scales. And I will say that exact thing to Nat Turner. Like, and then I'm hoping and praying his answer is, that's not right. I'll look into it. And then he looks into it and all my packs end up grading back to the old standard. That's fingers crossed. Wishful thinking.
Yeah, I haven't dug into the data yet, but I'm probably like top 5 percentile for someone who's graded packs, historically speaking, like graded the most packs over the past decade. I was grading based on limited packs. I was grading like random EX era sets. I was grading a lot of packs historically in my goal to open one of every box along the way. I was opening the 12 heavies. I was grading a lot of the lights. Historically speaking, what was always in my mind, what was always just built in, 40% 9s, 40% 10s, and 20% 8s. And that has almost always borne out like to be true from what I've graded. And I'm talking, I've opened dozens of WotC boxes. I've opened dozens of mid-era various boxes. And lately, it's like, yeah, just like James, 7 8s. I think I had one submission recently that was base jungle fossil. I had 1 9 out of like 40 packs, and everything else was 8s and 7s. And my first like 300 packs that I had graded in the first 5 years I was grading packs, I never got 1 7, never one sub 8 pack. And it's...
So I remember the first 7 I ever saw. It was on a PWCC auction, and it was for a demo pack. And if you know those demo packs, they're not like the regular foil packs. And it was the most beat up, chewed up pack I have ever seen anyone slab. And I was like, oh, that's what a 7 looks like. It was more or less falling apart. And the fact that you're getting 7s on, like booster box fresh foil packs for base set, I have no clue how they do pack grading at that point.
Well, one thing that I did recently, and I've seen people complaining that they don't have like I've seen people complaining that they don't have a I'm trying to think of the best word for it, but like a quality standard for pack grading. Mm-hmm. They actually do. If you search PSA pack grading standards, they have a standard. It's kind of a joke if you read it, because if you read the card grading standards, it talks about perfectly sharp corners. It talks about things that are related to square cut sports cards, not relevant to rounded cut like Pokemon cards, TCG cards like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that. But if you look up pack grading standards, they actually mention for like a PSA 6, PSA 7, they mention small holes. And when I actually read the standard for the first time in years, probably, maybe the first time ever, a couple weeks ago, the grades feel correct per their standards that have probably been there for a decade. It's just they never used to abide by them, clearly. Because I would grade packs that had the like I have some packs right next to me. You're not going to be able to see it on camera anyway, so there's no point. But when you're in a box, there's 36 packs in a box, two like side by side of 18. The top 2 have had nothing on top of them. So they're likely to have a clean top foil, whereas the bottom 17 on each side, the bottom 34 packs, they all had the top side flap from the pack above them resting into them for decades. And those things are very visible, very clear, and honestly, they take away greatly from eye appeal. And if you read closely what the PSA pack grading standards are, in my opinion, most of those should be 8s. I've always said, like, you could probably find a post on E4 from me like 7 years ago where I said that I don't understand pack rating. They give really ugly looking packs 10s, but I always kept grading them because I like getting 10s and I like making money. So they're honestly probably grading more true to their scale than they ever had historically.
I'm looking at the standards right now after you mentioned it, but a lot of the packs I did, they came from 2 places. They came from Charizard UPCs and they came from single pack blisters. So
you might be
I
fine.
did do a lot of single pack. Yeah, because of that. And then like even I had one like Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant pack. It came out of this, out of Heart Gold, like the theme decks that had the extra pack in it.
Yep.
That's where my Triumphant pack came from. So I definitely think I'll be okay. We'll see. Listen, I'm overly bullish. I'm overly bullish on too many things in this hobby. It's the James and Cam's motto: never punish, man. Eventually, we will be punished. The day will come. They will come.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, because if that works,
Yeah, I've done
if that works, he's gonna have to open back up Ultra Modern Pack Grading, right? He's gonna have to open back up Ultra Modern Consignment Plus Grading.
Now, if it opens up, I'll be the first one to know, and then I'll just give him a call, be like, okay, James, this is what we're gonna do. All the money you were gonna pay me out, you don't pay me out. You keep all of it. You keep every
Reroll it. There you go.
Another submission, and we're letting it ride, baby. It's like South Park meme. You ever seen that South Park meme where they're trying to win the town back and they're at the roulette table and they win?
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. But if we spin the wheel again, how much money will we make? This is Pokemon for you. And then, like Stan and Kyle are like, but you won. Why don't you just walk away? And they're like, Stan, you don't know anything about gambling.
We're on a hot streak. Let's go.
We're on a hot streak. Yep, that's going to be me with those packs if they end up being the home run that I think they will be.
It'll be interesting. I'm excited to see what they come back as.
Yeah.
I won't be doing. I think I actually did decently well with my pack submission. I've pretty much sold through everything at this point, which is nice. But I don't think I'll ever be doing another one. It's just too much of an unknown. Not having any idea of what's going to grade well versus grade bad. I don't like that part of it.
I mean, I could give you guys a quick rundown of what packs are in it. I mean, it's a lot.
There were like,
we got nothing but time tonight.
There were like 3 card packs in there. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the sweet spot. That's my secret. Yeah. But there was 19 Evolving Skies packs, 6 Silver Tempest, 11 Brilliant Stars, which were almost majority all Charizards. 5 Astral Radiance, 4 Vivid Voltage, 4 Rebel Clash, 6 Chillin' Rain, 12 Celebrations, 5 Cosmic Eclipse, 4 Fusion Strike, 4 Evolution, 6 Lost Origins, 2 Pop Series 2, 1 Celestial Storm, 1 Lost Thunder, 1 Guardians Rising, 2 Forbidden Lights, 1 Steam Siege, 5 Lost Thunder Dollar Store packs because they have the Lugia artwork on it. I liked it. 1 Fates Collide, 1 Detective Pikachu, 2 Unbroken Bonds, 8 Unified Minds Dollar Store packs, 4 Plasma Blast packs, 5 Burning Shadows packs, 2 Team Up packs, 3 Pokemon Go packs, 1 Heart Gold Silver Triumphant pack, 2 Breakthrough, 2 Crimson Invasion, 1 Trick or Trade. That's gonna be a good one. 4 Darkness Ablaze, 1 Black and White base sample pack, 1 Noble Victories sample pack. And I wanted to do like a large spread just to like cover all bases.
May Arceus have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
I mean, I constantly, when I make a sale, when I pack an order, I'm constantly finding myself saying like, bless the hobby, praise Arceus. We need Arceus to save PK on this deal. I actually saw James in the chat too. When you were talking about re-rolling all your profits into more pack rating, James just said LOL. That's all he had to say. There we go. Praise Arceus.
He's right. That's why he's right in the center, sitting right next to my graded cards, or my signed illustrator Pikachu cards from Cosmic Eclipse. Every night before I go to bed, I pray to the shrine, which is Arceus.
There you go. I mean, he's almost resting on PK's shoulder with the vantage point there. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Amplitude. Shout out to Amplitude. He actually he has a question when are we getting another parody video, PK, like the one for CTR? The masses have been waiting.
So I have a couple.
we need
I have
another
a couple in mind, but it takes a lot of work to do those.
Yeah.
that was a good one for Ryan.
Harder than clicking go live, huh? A little more prep and yeah.
A lot more prep. It was probably like a combined I mean, even to get the trash can, because I couldn't find one of those metal trash cans, so I had to go to Goodwill, buy an orange trash can, then go to Home Depot and buy a can of gray Rust-Oleum and spray paint that trash can. There were so many
Yeah,
little things that were involved to do it.
You
So,
went like next level.
that's dedication right there.
but now I get to use that trash can all the time.
There you go. And it was for a stream, so it was a write-off, right?
Yeah. This is not financial advice.
Not financial advice, not tax advice, consultant, accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so far behind the live chat. Ray wanted to know who's the best section lead at Charlotte and why is it Ray? Ray's actually a monster. For being a part-timer, I was very proud of Ray. I was very proud to share a section with Ray in Orlando. He absolutely killed it for being a part-timer. While Nick and I were leading sections, being full-timers, he was no slouch.
And he's the only one vending out of I don't think I know anyone else vending besides Ray in Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City's actually
Rest of
this
us are over
weekend.
here slacking, and Ray's over there working hard.
Ray's on that grind, yeah. He's going where no one else is to be the he's gonna rule that con, probably.
Do we know if Josh, the old card shop, is going to end up going to Charlotte? I know he was talking about it in one of his videos.
He said he was looking into it, and then he said flights were very, very expensive. So, and he's not a big fan of flying either. So to have to spend a massive amount of money to do something you don't like to do, it's got to be a big hurdle, I would think.
Gotcha.
But hopefully he will come, because yeah, we've got 5 full sections. It's going to be an absolute blast. I think just the way it worked, it was funny. It was funny how we all kind of like talked up Denver, and Denver was amazing. Like I'm not talking down Denver whatsoever, but we all talked like there will never be a one where so many people go as the amount of people going to Denver, and we only had 1 section in Denver, and then we filled 2 sections for Orlando, and now we're filling 5 for Charlotte. Like, it's probably still too early to say it, and it's probably premature to try to say that this will be the most people to ever go to one, because who knows what's on the horizon. But yeah, the amount of people going to Charlotte is just absolutely mind blowing. It's gonna be a blast.
I think it's time for Collectacon to reach out to us. Collectacon, if you're out there in YouTube land, listen, we've shilled your Collectacon enough for you. Throw us a bone, please. I mean, look at all this free advertisement you guys are getting. It's unbelievable.
Exactly.
Here's another one for the guest PK, Arson Hicks. I'm actually very interested in this one too. I know you've mentioned for a long time now, Football Pete is actually quite local to you, and he's someone that you went to his warehouse in person. You've talked about getting him on your channel. Arson Hicks wants to know, when will you get Football Pete, and then also PokeVault, which I know you have a little bit of a history with. You've had him on your podcast a couple times, and
yeah, I don't see that question, but yeah, me and Sean, we're good now. Like, we have no issue whatsoever. But he's always welcome if he ever wants to come on for a one-on-one. That would be a lot of fun. But as for Football Pete's, the guy's name is Scott. Last time I talked to him was right after his eBay live that he did, because he did the first one, and he emailed me back because I originally offered to Scott. I was like, hey, I know you're doing your first eBay live. If you want me to come out there and like help you, just in case like there's any questions get brought up in the chat, you guys at least have answers to it. And I didn't know that first ever eBay live, they flew those guys out from Connecticut to California to eBay headquarters.
wow.
As soon as that eBay live was over, he emailed me, and because I told him, I was like, if you ever do another one in the future, let me know and I'll help you out. And then that's when he told me like, no, they flew us out to California for it. We weren't doing it local, but he would reach out to me and let me know if they ever did one in the future. I want to like maybe go stop by. But as for having him on it, at this point, it's kind of fallen on me because I just kind of like stopped kind of hounding him for it because at the time he was transitioning into like a new warehouse and stuff. And at the beginning of the year, he's always super swamped with taxes and stuff. But Scott's a straight shooter. He's he's got very little filter. He'll tell you exactly how it is. And when I went to see him, the original time I saw him was when he posted Chillin' Rain booster boxes for $79.95 shipped on eBay, or at least free shipping, so not including taxes. But yeah, I thought that was amazing, and I went to him, and he was just he told me like a lot of different stuff. And at the time, talking to him, I thought there was going to be a lot more reprints coming down the line and stuff. And I guess they did come a little bit, but they weren't as bad. But again, that was at the worst possible reprint window of Pokemon.
Yeah, that
But yeah,
was
he will
crazy.
eventually channel, but it's just he said the only thing he can't talk about is his eBay consignment rate or his eBay rates because he has like non-disclosures with eBay. But he said anything besides that is on the table we could talk about. And he was like, everyone could just look at his sales and they know how well he did during the craziness that was Pokemon. But
Hmm.
For
I'm sure
sure.
he did quite well.
yeah,
And
but
what one thing
yeah,
I would be curious too, like, did he take a lot of chips off the table, or did he just roll it in? I think one thing that's very very common in just broader business, and then more so in our industry maybe too, is to just keep cycling it into the business, kind of spend to zero tax strategy, pay no taxes, make no money on paper. But like, did he pull a lot of money off the table in those really really good years? Did he? I don't know if you want to
I
get that in
mean,
depth with them. I don't know if he'd be that open to be that transparent.
we do know that he has a new warehouse that he didn't have before because he ran out of space. So that was definitely like a new expense he had. But the thing that Scott talked about a little bit in his in his eBay live, a lot of people out there wonder like a lot of people talk about sealed product, and in order to make a lot of money on sealed product, one of the plays you really have to do is you got to sit on sealed product. Stick it under your bed, stick it in your crawl space, stick it in your basement, stick it in your closet, wherever you're going to put your sealed product, and just play that waiting game. The thing Scott has that nobody could really compete with him on modern is a couple things. One, his price from distribution is whatever the lowest price is. I don't know what that lowest price is, but it's what he gets because he orders the most volume.
Hmm.
Number 2, he has fantastic rates with eBay, contracted rates through eBay. He's doing fantastic with rates. And the thing he mentioned during his first eBay live, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about a lot, is he also has contracted rates with the US Postal Service. You know how many packages you have to ship with the US Postal Service to get contracted rates with them because for a while he switched over the FedEx and he pulled so much business away from uh, United States Postal Service that he was able to negotiate better rates just shipping stuff. Like he's on a very, very different level than most people could really ever get to. So, I mean, for him to make money on modern sealed product, and especially, it's not just Pokemon he sells everything. So he's doing pretty well for himself. He's probably doing it the best, I would have to say.
Oh yeah, on eBay, as far as ultra modern sealed, for sure. I don't think there's anyone close. But I don't know how, and we'll never know, because like he wouldn't be able to tell you. And like Troll and Toad though, how would he compare to a Troll and Toad? How would he compare to a David Adams? They do a lot on eBay, but they also do a ton off eBay. And from what you had described, it sounds as if his public facing like walk in, it's not much of like an LGS. It's not much of a walk in and buy a lot of product, right? Like he does everything online. Whereas Troll and Toad, they have David Adams has like LGS style in Buffalo and other places. Troll and Toad doesn't really have the walk in, but they have their own website and eBay and TCG Player.
So he still had his original LGS in like a big like shop and mall complex. He had removed the name of the shop off the wall. So like you can see how you can like see the outline of where a store used to be. And then all the windows he had blackout curtains on the window. He did not want foot traffic going
Yeah.
into that. And I was only there for about 15 minutes. And during the time I was there for 15 minutes, there was a FedEx truck came through, a UPS truck, and a post office truck went through, and I was in there
Man,
for 15 minutes, and all 3 of those trucks came in and out. And I always thought, like, when I would walk in, it would be like a nice warehouse, like beautiful metal racks and like beautifully concrete floors and maybe like some forklifts or whatever. No, 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 no. It was just absolute chaos. Like cardboard all over the place, booster boxes, um, like booster box cases just stacked to the ceiling as far as you can walk down. And you had to like zigzag through all this cardboard. It was crazy. That guy was moving so much product. It was unbelievable. So,
that's wild.
I mean, he just what I mean, I don't know. He had easily, it's hard for me to like gauge something like that, but at $1 million+ worth of just sealed product at any point, you know? So,
Yeah, I just pulled up his eBay. He has 4,000 feedback in the past month, 53,000 in the past 12 months. It's actually funny, 98.9% positive feedback. He must have a lot of people buying boxes, not happy with a little ding, not happy with a little bit of shrink wrap issue. That's why
yeah.
I so worry about selling sealed on eBay.
So when I was there, that was the one thing he had sitting right on his desk. He had like it was like a Rayquaza theme deck, and then he also had a Rapidash V box. It was when the Rapidash V boxes just came out, and he had just had to accept that as a return because somebody said it was resealed. And so the guy Scott's sitting there at his desk, and he's like, just look around, and like as you pan your head around, there's just millions of dollars worth of sealed product all around you, you know. And he's like, do you know how hard it would be for me to reseal this box, you know? So like obviously all of us out there just know how ridiculous that thought is. But he still had somebody return that Rapidash V box as being resealed, and he had to accept it. And he was more mad about that $20 V box than he was about like anything else that day. So, but like that's it. And then he also had, and then that like Rayquaza theme deck, he also had to accept that theme deck back as being resealed, which for a guy moving billions of dollars in sealed product a year, he's not tampering with V your Rayquaza V theme deck that doesn't even have packs. You know, it's just it's so ridiculous when you say it out loud, but like that's the little shit he has to deal with on a daily basis, which drives him nuts.
We talked about it a
Oh, I
little
can, yeah,
bit.
I can imagine.
We talked about it a little bit in the premiere, the tendency for people to just feel like the whole world is out to get them, and they get something with the shrink wrap looking a little weird. All my packs were resealed. I got scammed. Like, yeah, there's just too many people out there like that. All said and done, it's like less than 1% of buyers. I mean, you look at their feedback, it's like 99% positive. So it's about 1% of the times you have issues.
Hmm.
And it's even way less than that. It's only that's the feedback. I mean, think of how many people you're actually selling to that are not leaving any feedback. So
Yeah,
it's probably
exactly.
way less than 1%.
Yeah, yeah.
The majority of people don't even leave feedback on eBay.
Yeah.
I think it's about 1 out of 4. I looked at some point back, and I think I had like 1,000 sales over whatever the time frame was, and I had 250 feedback in that time frame. And obviously, if someone has a negative experience, they're disproportionately more likely to go and leave a feedback. So yeah, it might only be like 0.2%, 0.3%, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something really small like that. And
Yep.
that's just part of running. That's the cost of running business or doing business, and especially the cost of doing business at the scale he's doing it.
Oh, for
But yeah,
sure.
I would love to have him on the channel one day. Definitely.
That would be amazing.
That'd be a fun listen.
I know that you're not a big one to schedule them out ahead of time, but if you do get him, please do schedule it out at least like an hour ahead of time, so that I can try to make it, so that people can try to schedule and be there live to ask questions. I know it's tough when it's not your main thing, and who knows when he might just like pop in, shoot you a message, and say, "Hey, I'm ready to go."
Yeah. Muffin Swagger said, "Listen, New England, any idea if Pete is open to doing off eBay bulk deals? He will, man, but you're not getting any deals off eBay. It's whatever his lowest price on eBay is what you're gonna pay. I'm sorry if
I,
that's
I
the
just
answer.
I just
But
highlighted it on the screen. Yeah, Muffin Swagger. He is paying a ridiculously low eBay rate. I don't know what he's paying, but he is paying some insanely low price. It's always mind-blowing to me. I think Nick is in the same territory that I am lately with like private deals off eBay. I don't go off eBay whatsoever. People say like, hey, do you want to take off 10% to go off eBay? I only pay a 12% fee, and someday I hope to pay less. I know that you're saving a 10% sales tax. It's like you're trying to get all the benefit, and you're trying to get me to essentially break the law, circumvent sales tax laws, circumvent like all these different things. P-Football Pete, who pays a very, very low single-digit percent and who just has systems in place, he has systems in place to move millions of dollars of product a week. And that is through, PK just said, 15 minutes, UPS, USPS, FedEx. He does not have a standard procedure for getting product to people at their door, trying to like wheel and deal, trying to haggle, like he does not want people to come in. He's got blackout curtains. It's so crazy. And I'm not trying to like,
he removed the name off the side of the wall. He doesn't want that.
Yeah,
so
like, and I pay 12% and I pay full shipping rates and I pay full eBay fees. I don't want that. Like he definitely does not want that. It is so prevalent in this hobby that people are so afraid of fees and they're so afraid of like doing things on these like legitimate platforms. It's so counter to like what you, in my opinion, should be doing. Like you should just be doing things above board, getting your sales tax exemption, paying your sales tax, like all these different things. But I guess that's getting a little bit deeper. But yeah, I jumped down to highlight that one. I did have another one though. Professor Birch wanted to know, how do the choose your cards option listings work? I see a lot of trading cards sold like this and wonder how it works and your thoughts. I think our category, the actual toys and hobbies collectible card games category, okay. I think that one doesn't have the option to do multi-listing quantity, where like if you're selling a t-shirt, say you're selling the Saranac t-shirt, if you had small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, you could do one listing for the shirt, and then you could do multi variation for the sizes. Like years ago, I actually used to do a jungle common card, and then you could pick between the 16 jungle common cards. You could pick between Nidorina, you could pick between Pikachu, Eevee, things like that. You had to go out of category though. So I think those people are going out of category, and the way that they work is literally just like any other listing would work. If they have it in stock, you click what you want and you buy it and you pay, and then on their end, the inventory goes away. One thing I don't like about those, they clutter up the search results, because say I'm searching for an Eevee from Jungle and they don't have it, they might be out of stock on the Eevee, but since it's a part of the listing, that listing will show up. I'll have to click into it and I'll see the Eevee's gone, but they only have a Pikachu. And I don't want the Pikachu, I just want the Eevee. So it is not an ideal, it is not an optimal listing strategy for our categories, in my opinion. I used it years ago and I would never use it again. I think it's just like a bad buyer experience. It's a bad search experience for the buyer.
Yeah, a while back you did have to go out. You had to do like arts and crafts or something, some category like that. Now you can do that within trading cards. So they do allow it. I'm the same as you though, Dan. Yep. I'm the same as you though. I really don't like those listings. Personally, I like the look of my eBay store the way it is, where I have all the categories. So like you click on jungle set and then you can click on the uncommons and you can see all the uncommons that I have. Whereas with the variation listing, it would just be one listing for all the commons. We were joking about this. It was a long time ago on PokeFlipz. How you could essentially have your whole eBay store listed in one listing and just have tons of drop down menus and all of that stuff. But yeah, I don't like them because of what you said, where if you search an EV, that listing will come up, and then you click on it, and the EV's out of stock, or it doesn't give you, like, I always search price low to high when I know what I want to buy. So you're using your example. If I'm searching for a jungle EV, I'll type in jungle EV, search low to high, and those are always usually going to be one of the first listings to pop up.
Yep.
Because it'll say price between 99 cents and $100.
Yep.
Or whatever the price may be. And so when I click on that listing thinking, oh, hey, there's an EV for 99 cents. Click on that listing. One, it might be out of stock, or two, the EV might be way higher than someone else. You just never know until you actually get into that listing. So me personally, I don't like those listings. I can see a benefit to them from, because, like, as like a buyer, certain buyers might like it because it is a lot easier just being able to click a drop down menu, select one card, add to cart, click the drop down menu again, select the next card, add to cart. So in that way, it's a little bit easier. And then I think it could also benefit you as the seller, because you have, instead of having just a listing of 20 EVs that'll sell once a week or so, you now have this listing of 20 copies of every single jungle card. And instead of selling that one copy a week, now you're selling, say, one of each copy a week. So you go from selling one card a week in that listing to go to selling however many, 16, 30, if you have the whole jungle set, 64 cards a week, and that just increases your visibility on eBay. So I can see it being beneficial in that regard. Me personally, I don't like it though.
Yeah. Wilt Chamberlain wanted to know, how low do you all see these new reprint Silver Tempest booster boxes getting? I don't know about you, Nick, but one thing I want to shout out for people who might not have access to distributors, and a lot of the distributors have websites where you need to log in to see pricing. One thing that is actually out there, Magazine Exchange is an actual legitimate distributor for Pokemon. You cannot see all their pricing if you go to their website, but if you go to their website and you look for weekly specials, you can actually see like certain specials they have on a weekly basis. And as of today, I believe, and this is not a distributor that I use, that's kind of why I'm not worried about just talking about it openly, but they have a weekly special right now where I believe you can get Silver Tempest with a Battle Academy for like, I'm trying to pull it up as I speak so that I'm not incorrect here. There it is, weekly specials. So you can get, as of today, you can get Silver Tempest booster box with a Battle Academy for $108.95. So I think the retail of that Battle Academy product is $20. I think the wholesale is around $10 to $12. So functionally, what the person is paying, they're forced to buy dead stock of a Battle Academy for like $12, but they're paying around $96 for Silver Tempest. So I can only speculate what the box might go down to. But if you just want to know what wholesale people are forced to being able to pay, it's not like the historical 85, 86, 82, depending on your volume and your size. But it's somewhere more like the mid-90s. That said, that does not mean that that's like a floor. Depending on how things go, depending on how things move ahead, you could see boxes for $79.99 if things go poorly enough, right? Like we've seen that historically. So
I think they're good. It depends on, like, I haven't gotten my numbers. I put in how many I wanted, but I haven't gotten my numbers of how many I'm actually getting yet. So it depends on how much we actually get, how far the price goes down. I know with one of my distributors, they did it in similar to what you were saying, Dan, with the bundle deal, and it is a complete garbage bundle deal.
yep.
I forget exactly what it is, but you get, well, we won't get into it. It's
Free
just
stuff
a
you
complete
don't want.
garbage bundle deal.
Yeah. free.
So that'll keep we get the Silver Tempest booster boxes at a good price, but at the same time we have to take all this garbage as well that nobody wants. So that kind of increases the floor price of those booster boxes. Whereas my other distributor, it's not as bad of a bundle deal. But it is still kind of rough. So I think me personally, both of my distributors are selling them through bundle deals. One is worse than the other one, but they're both kind of shitty. So I think that will hold up like a floor price for those boxes. But I can definitely see them going to like 110-ish. They're at like 140 right now, 150. So I can see them coming down pretty good as long as this whatever restock, reprint, whatever's actually going on. As long as that has a lot of boxes in it, I think they could go down pretty heavily. Same thing with Lost Origin. I don't think Lost Origin will go down quite as much because those boxes are more expensive. But I think those will come down as well. Maybe 140, 150 if I had to guess.
And I don't know about you, but my Silver Tempest has shipped. My Lost Origin has not yet shipped.
I didn't even order from that distributor.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Zard lurking, and PK, you can start here since Nick and I were just talking about allocations and stuff a bunch. If there was another air quotes big boom, what would be your guys' strategies for flipping and making money, and what would you do differently from the last boom?
Inventory. I can't like say that enough. Inventory. During the last boom, a lot of the stuff that I considered inventory went so fast that I went through so much like what I thought was things that I really cared about, a lot of my personal collection type things. And if there was another boom that happened again, I need to be better positioned than I was in 2020. So I'd say that was number one. And then problem is in 2020, the things that were part of my PC, when they go, there was no replacing right away, you know? There was no sending cards to PSA and getting them back in 3 months' time. There was nothing. In the end of 2020, I did crazy grading plays. Like I sent cards to GMA just to get cards back, like super, super bulky, like PSA 6 and 7 and 8 quality, commons, uncommon, just to get some sort of inventory, cheap grading. Like I was looking for anything. And if another boom were to happen, that's where I would need to be. I would need to have actual inventory this time and not just, but this is the thing, like I didn't know, you know, I was too busy at the time really trying to be a collector, and I wasn't trying to make money in the boom, but I was able to make money selling PC items, and I don't want to have to do that again. So that would be my answer. Inventory, one word.
Solid answer there. Solid answer. For me, it would be being home. That would be nice. Yeah, I was away 2020, so didn't get to do much. But I think if let's say I was home during 2020, I feel like back then I would have been too. I get in these moods where I'm like hyper focused on one task, and I can't move on to another task until I finish this one task. And I feel like in 2020, I would have been in one of those moods where I needed to focus on like my bulkier type cards. So I'd be listing like 99-cent singles instead of focusing on listing like these higher end cards that are going to be making me a lot more money. So I think that's one thing that I can add is to stay focused on what's important. Like don't worry about these cheap cards. Worry about listing all of your expensive stuff and then work your way down towards the cheap cards.
Yeah, for me, I I made a video like a year ago saying we're still in the boom and I don't expect any cards to like 10x out of nowhere. And then a lot of Japanese did. But me being full time, I'm just like by definition more prepared for if and when the next one were to ever come. But my strategy is to just do the preparation on the front end. It's to get all my subs out. Actually, I have 3 boxes right beside me on the floor here. A BGS submission, a PSA submission, and a CGC submission. I'm trying to get to where at least every other week I'm sending out 100 plus cards to each company and just constantly have that inventory churning through. Because if and when something massive were to ever come along, I mean, I don't really expect one to come because I think it's still killing it right now. But if one were to come, these companies are just going to get inundated again, and you're going to be in that scenario where like a backlog will build, and unless you already have it, you're not going to be able to realize the highest prices. So preparation is a big part of that. Inventory, like PK said, having the inventory now on the front side, being caught up, just having everything churned through and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I know this isn't a question in the chat, but what did you learn coming out of 2020? Like, when it comes to that inventory question, did you learn like what you need to sit on? Like, I have a feeling now, like in the event of a boom, I know what I need to be selling. Do you guys kind of have a feel for that?
Yeah, I think it.
Not really. I'm more so just sell everything except
Sell it
what
all.
I actually want in my personal collection.
Yeah.
That's really all I would say to that one.
I kind of
there's not I've really dialed back my personal collection. I still have a good bit in it, but it's mainly what I've shown on Instagram the first half of the year. My
Mhm.
booster packs, my theme decks, my no damage Ninetales. That's about the extent of my personal collection now, and I really like all 3 of those things. So I probably won't be selling those off anytime soon. And then like investment wise, there again, it's not a whole lot. I got a lot of celebrations, 2 cases of each sword and shield set, and that's about it. So most of the stuff that I have is either listed on eBay or going to be listed on eBay at some point in the semi near future.
Yeah, I think I kind of memed on it. I mean, I'm probably going to continue the meme from Monday with my short tomorrow, but I am just trying to do most of my business in the ultra high liquidity, ultra modern, 10,000 pop cards. Just keep those things churning, keep that stuff going through. But hold tighter the things that you can't replace and paper hands the hell out of anything that you can literally just sell in plastic for a massive premium to what you can literally buy it for today. Like, if you looked, I'm not going to make a video. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, there you go. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I sent off in my submissions today to both CGC, PSA, and BGS. Well, tomorrow, because they're sitting next to me. But people can imagine. Look at my eBay. Look at what I've listed recently. People can imagine I'm going to make a short tomorrow touching on one of the cards. I already talked about it a little bit Monday. But yeah, those cards, those plays, take them, make them while they're there. And then cards that, I mean, it's a huge meme. People are probably going to say stuff in chat. 20 years from now, I have a good idea on what cards are going to pan out better price-wise from where they are today relative to like those ultra modern Black Label 001 SVPs and PSA 10 ultra modern pop 10,000 whatever card. Because all like this is one thing, and I'm so sarcastic lately, and I'm so like I've been so sarcastic lately, and I've been so, I don't even know what the right word to describe it is, but when I say ultra modern is the best, I don't think people fully appreciate and understand what that means. I think that some amount of people watched that video Monday and they thought like, yeah, Moonbryon, yeah, Scarlet Violet, yeah, Mew Altar AR from 151. Ultra Modern is always changing. 5 years from now, Ultra Modern, that doesn't exist yet. Like, what is Ultra Modern in 5 years does not yet exist. And that will be the best. So all this stuff in the middle, all this stuff today, all this stuff yesterday, 5 years ago, that will fall by the wayside. To the new king, Ultra Modern is always the best. And like, people just don't fundamentally understand, I don't think. And some people do and some people don't, and I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know anymore. I'm starting to change my thoughts, and I don't know. Just seeing the sales volume and how much better Modern does on eBay, right?
That's
like
exactly
regular
what
buy
I'm
it now
saying,
stuff,
though.
they live.
That's what I'm
Modern
saying.
does, but
But
no. I'm saying, like, look at like the tag teams from Sun and Moon. Those aren't super modern cards, and people still love those things.
Yeah.
But I think there are going to be those, like
the
the
volume,
tag
though,
teams,
the volume
some of
is
the
nothing
Alt-Arts and
like
Sword and Shield.
Moonbryon. Like,
That's a 2019 card right there, Dan. This thing is as liquid as it gets. You throw 2 pieces of plastic on it, and people just foam at the mouth for something so simple.
will it be in 5 years, though? Will it be like, will that still stand out, or will it be drowned out
I
by?
don't know, because I'm
think
not
it
gonna
will.
own this card in 5 years. You know, this is just
Yeah.
that's the thing.
I mean, if I'm wrong,
I'm starting to think it will be a thing long term.
if
I don't know. I don't think everything, like your SV1, your Unagabas, I don't think those plays will be around in 5 years.
For
But
a while,
I do think like your Latios, your other your popular tag teams, Gengar, Mimikyu, Moonbryon, I do think those will stay long term. I'm starting to think that.
yeah, but even a card like this, like black and white base, these are modern cards, but then eventually they stop being modern.
yep,
And then you look at cards like this and you say, are people going back and like really chasing those? No, they're not. And these were modern at one point, you know, it's just
I think that's because who was into Pokemon during the black and white era? Nobody was into the hobby back then.
yeah, but that with that argument, Nick, is anybody joining the hobby now today, that means that nobody will want to go back and join and go back and collect Sword and Shield though, right?
They
the
will,
nice
because so many
Well,
people grew up in the Sword and Shield era.
no, I'm saying if somebody was just entered Sword and Shield or just entered Pokemon today, then they wouldn't want to go back and collect Sword and Shield. They would only want to collect Scarlet and Violet. And if you do believe
Oh,
in the
yeah,
growth,
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
but if
no,
you
I can, yeah,
eventually things get
I
old.
kind of see that as well. People who are just getting in today with Scarlet and Violet, not wanting to go back to Sun and Moon, possibly, or I'm sorry, Sword and Shield. But where it's like so close, they
But
might inch their
I,
way back onto Sword and
I think,
Shield.
yeah, I think they always inch their way back. It's just like all the people that got back into the hobby in 2020 with the craziness. Look at how long it took people to start to inch their way back to Sun and Moon. It took
Mhm.
it took almost 3 years for that to happen, and there was people screaming from the mountaintops. Shout out to Jake Pokenomics. Jake was talking about rainbow rares and tag team cards forever. Nobody was listening to him. One of the first lives I ever had Jake on, that was like the one thing we talked about. And one of the cards me and him really talked about was the Charizard and Reshiram from Cosmic Eclipse. Because Jake was like, I've been buying up a bunch of those cards. I said, Jake, you must be my competition because I'm also buying up those cards. That was real early 2021. It really took 2 years later for those cards to explode. The question needs to be asked, okay, it took people 3 years to get back to Sun and Moon. Does it now take them 4 or 5 years to get to XY, 5, 6 to get back to black and white? Like, or is there always going to be a limit of how far people will go back? Like that's the question. I do believe once people start digging deeper down the rabbit hole, like anybody out there who's just collecting Sword and Shield, like you need to expand your horizons. Like there's a lot of awesome cards that exist in this hobby that you might not even know exist. But that's it. That's where it gets super subjective because what I think is cool, other people might not think is cool. It's just like in 10 years from now, anybody entering the hobby in 10 years from now might look at Sword and Shield alt arts and go, those cards suck. Look at all the new cards I could get. Why would I want to own a Moonbryon? A Moonbryon? Like that's a gross alt art. Just the same way when in black and white, when these full arts came out, people look at these now and go, full art cards? Why would I want to own a full art card when I could have a alternate art card? You might have the same conversations in 10 years, we just don't know. So
Yeah, that is true. But as much as a Gen 1er I am, why would people go back to WotC? Who didn't grow, who don't have the nostalgia to WotC? WotC cards don't look good compared to modern cards. So
why is the Honus Wagner the most
go back?
Yes.
Why is
Honus Wagner
the most expensive base card? Why is the
Mickey Mantle? Yep.
Mickey Mantle is a 1952 tops. That is 71 years ago. The amount of people that were alive when that card was, released is very small. Like, why?
Yeah, but at the same time, he's one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
And Charizard is one of the greatest Pokemon of all time. Pikachu is one of the greatest.
Look at how many Charizards are out there. There's like 300 Charizard cards.
How many Mickey Mantles are out there?
There's only one first one though. That's the thing. 20 years from now, there will be 150 sets of Pokemon. There will be 1,500 species. There will be like only one first set. There will be only one base first. There will be only one. And this is, this is talking about more like investing, speculating versus just flipping, which I'm not doing much of. But still, if I had to park money, going back to my video Monday, for anyone that watched it, if I had to park money, I just showed it. I have a Moonbryon up here, PSA 10, $1,000. If I had to park money in this versus a PSA 9 first edition Neo Discovery Moonbryon, I am parking in the PSA 9 first edition Neo Discovery Moonbryon over the PSA 10 Alt Art Moonbryon because there's going to be more and more and more. There will always be an ultra moderner, ultra betterer card than the Moonbryon, the next one, the next hot thing, flavor of the week.
But with that all said, if you ask every single person on this screen, what are we currently buying? Modern. So
the sell
there,
the sell.
People will hear that, and damn, that's all they will ever hear.
They'll
only hear what we just said, but it's like, what are we buying? Modern, and then they'll be like, no. We ignore that part. We're only gonna ever talk about when they're like go against our rhetoric, But
yeah.
Fresh Cat said PK up in full art black and white. There's a little truth to that. Let's get the black and white full arts to go big, because then I'll finally really be right on this one. So
Retro,
not gonna happen, PK. Not gonna happen.
Retro says the flavor of the week is salty, it seems. I know over here the flavor of the night is Saranac. Shout out to local brewery, Saranac Mosaic IPA. If everyone wants to raise up what they're drinking tonight, I know we've got a few beverages being consumed tonight. There we go.
I gotta grab another
high noon action.
You guys got the high noon going on. I got the local beer, Saranac IPAs rolling. Nick's got the Blue Moons.
You got the orange with the Blue Moon though, Nick?
No orange. No orange
Slacking
tonight.
Gotta fruit your beer, man. No, I mean, this is the thing. Do you ever think about Pokemon? Do you ever think like you overanalyze it too much and you just like spend too much time just thinking about it, or no? Does it just become like part of your normal routine?
I'm forced
100% part of my normal routine.
I'm forced to think and talk about more of it on YouTube and in Patreon than I would otherwise. Like I'm right now beside me, I have boxes going to PSA, BGS, and CGC of the most obvious, low thought, no brainer. Like just the dumb pop 10,000 plays. Like, more of my business strategy is just catering towards what did GemRate grade the most of in the past 30 days, and then just grading that and giving the market what it wants.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I'd love to see a video like that, but I bet if you just did grade whatever the most graded card was, you probably did really well.
Yeah.
Like, take away all thought process, all history, all everything, and just whatever is the most graded card, those are the only cards we're grading, and I bet you did pretty well. I mean, we like to overanalyze Pokemon a lot though, but recently it's pretty like obvious. Fan favorite Pokemon with great art sell.
Put it in
That's it.
plastic.
And it's always, yep, put it in plastic. It's never changed. It's been the same since the beginning, and it's been the same now, you know?
So you're saying that ugly ass Terra Charizard's not going to sell?
Oh,
It's gonna sell.
that's the best Charizard
You
of
don't
all
have to
time.
like it. You don't have to like it, but it will
That
sell.
thing is awful.
There'll be
That is
buyers out there for that.
a bad card.
That
There's
thing,
going to be people. There's definitely going to be people who buy it, and it's going to do well. But that is such an ugly card.
you
You
take
know, I
that
would
back.
think Charizard fatigue in this hobby would be a real thing, but I don't think Charizard fatigue right now is a real thing. It's crazy.
Oh
I mean,
no, definitely not. Definitely
Danny
not.
Phantom today put out a great video just trying his best to
I
talk
was
about all the
watching
modern
it earlier.
Charizards, and it's ridiculous. And he didn't even talk about like Charizard promos. He just talked about like Charizard set cards. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's been a lot of them recently.
I guess he did talk about the Charizard UPC promo, so I guess he talked about one promo, but he didn't talk about like the Lance's V Charizard from the collection boxes. He didn't talk about like the Hidden Fates Charizard from the tins. He didn't talk about any of those, I don't believe. But
Mm-mm.
you look at cards like that, the Hidden Fates Charizard tin promo. I
Yep.
mean, think of how much money there was in just that one card, not including the packs that were in the tin. Just grade those, or the Charizard V promo from Champion's Path. Like the real early sales of those, people forget those were $300+ cards. Like
Yep.
people forget that stuff, and it's the same thing even with the Sword and Shield Charizard promos. Those original sales were all greater than 180. Those were like $200+ PSA 10s for the very first ones graded.
Yep.
And I think this is a topic that we don't ever know the answer, but I'll never know who's buying these cards. Dan, who do you think is buying them? You know?
No idea.
I have no idea. I'm gonna do some videos coming out soon where I look at like the like super Dan videos, super spreadsheet, data analysis, like robot, people don't care. Looking at like the median household income, looking at like average budgets and expenditures. I genuinely have no clue where my average eBay buyer is coming from. Every day I am shipping 20, 30 cards, and I am like, who is this person on the other side? I don't overly like stress on it and think about it. I just keep buying, listing, grading, selling. But I don't know any of these people in real life. None of them.
Yeah. But we need those people too.
We
I mean,
do.
for the way a lot of like the way we sell cards is you need those people to exist. Like all those Unagaba EVs and stuff you just graded, Dan, like you need somebody to buy those cards and not just do the grading play themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And especially the people grade, and think about how many people are buying your nines. Like 9, in my opinion, for a card like that is absolute worst case scenario. Like you are so sad, but yet you can still sell that card to somebody, which I mean, why don't they just grade that card themselves? Like, what is their worst case scenario? You get a 9, literally the card you were going to buy anyways. Like,
No, I think we're so deep in the hobby
We are such
that
experts.
grading to us is super easy. To the vast majority of the hobby, grading is not that easy. People don't even know how to ship cards out. How are they going to know how to grade cards?
Yeah, if you go to the post office, usually it's like really old people or just random people, but like people don't know how to do anything at the post office, and it's a little scary.
Yep.
But yeah, we must just be like way more expert in our trade than we realize. Like we are just
What?
99.9th percentile.
Credit sometimes.
I think we give ourselves too much credit sometimes.
Well, look at we might have 1,000 people watch this video. So there's 1,000 people who have a good understanding of buying, selling, grading, shipping, all that stuff. How many collectors are out there? We are definitely the vast minority of people who are actually grading cards and making money flipping and all this stuff. The vast majority of people have absolutely no idea how to do any of that.
Maybe that's just the truth. I don't know.
If this will last the next 30 years, bless the hobby. Bless us all. We are experts and we deserve to be rewarded, right?
I don't think it's gonna last. I don't think it's gonna be quite the same as it is right now. But why wouldn't it last to a lesser extent forever? You don't go make your own clothes. You buy clothes at a store. The companies who are making your clothes pay pennies on the dollar and then sell you shirts for $20. They're making insane margins. And we don't say anything about them.
But in 30 years, Dan, you will not be an expert. Everybody who comes here in 30 years from now, and if you're still somehow grinding eBay, making videos, who
Grinding
knows if that's a
PokeFlipz.
possibility. But in a hypothetical, people will look at you and they'll never say that you're an expert. They'll just always say, no, Dan was just there at the beginning. That's all people will say. It's the same
Yeah.
way as like everything, it's like Gary King Pokemon. I've seen some of the takes people have on Gary. People forget there was a while Gary had like the largest Pokemon eBay store on all of eBay. He was literally him and E Birdman were like some of the biggest sellers in the entire world. And people look at Gary and they go, "Oh, well, Gary was just there at the beginning." It's like, "Oh, what a shitty way to put it," because people forget like all this super early information, all the stuff people take for granted now, all these original people in the hobby, all the people doing the legwork, the grind work to like, first of all, create this hobby. And number two, like get a lot of the information we all take for granted now. It was all these people. It's just we came 20 years after the fact and started making YouTube videos. And Gary and E Birdman, Gary talks about it all the time. He would stay up with E Birdman late on the telephone, and we're not talking cell phones, we're talking house phone line. And him and Gary would talk back and forth and just discuss how can me and you grow this hobby? How can we turn this into something special? And the only difference was there wasn't 100 people watching the live real time. There wasn't 1,000 people watching the live after the fact. It was just two people's in their kitchens or living room talking on the phone. And like I hate those takes from people where they're like, Gary was just there at the beginning. It's like, okay, okay, everyone. Like, you have no clue what you're talking about if that's what you think. He was just happened to be there at the beginning. Like, did that help? Sure. But was that all of it? No.
Yeah, no, I don't think those people do not understand how much Gary and Ed helped build the hobby.
We're
But
actually
I will be right back.
Raji said Dan just got lucky. Now he calls himself an expert.
luck. I mean, absolutely. Like luck has been a huge factor. I'm not one of those people that will try to say like
Oh yeah.
everything I did was skill, and I was very fortunately timing finding my binder when I moved and getting back in 2014 with a tailwind. and then just happening to be collecting while, yeah, there was a constant tailwind, and then there was absolutely like rocket ship emojis all the way to the moon in 2020. Very, very fortunate timing. But I am actually fully caught up with the chat. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I probably missed some along the way. I know there's quite a few meme questions that drip in that I end up skipping over. But yeah, feel free to leave your questions in the chat in case I missed it. Sorry for that.
G Card says, if you look at the growth in Pokemon showing up in sports cards shows you to be more bullish. I think what Brad G is saying is if like Pokemon can see the same long-term growth maybe as sports. Yeah. I mean, the thing about sports too that people don't, I mean, I guess people do talk about it is sports went in these like big highs and lows. Like people look at the 60s and 70s, those were still huge mass printed timelines for sports cards. But then the 80s, 90s, it was just crazy until eventually sports got into all the serialized stuff. And but I mean, Pokemon also had their highs and lows, so I think it had like a relatively similar trajectory. It's just different with like the amount of companies printing sports opposed to the one company printing Pokemon.
And one thing I want to give context to people, people think like Pokemon will catch sports or surpass sports, and who knows, in graded cards it might for a short term. I just Googled it very quickly. I'm not going to like dig too deeply into the sources. Pokemon is often quoted as like the highest grossing media franchise of all time, which it is, $100 billion approximately, whatever it may be. I just Googled sports, the industry's revenue, and this is probably like ticket sales, this is jersey sales, this is everything. Like this is just looking at like the pie we're dealing with. $355 billion in 1 year. Like that's not just sports cards, but that's like sports, because Pokemon, that is not just cards number. That is actually a tiny fraction of cards. If you look at trading cards, actually merchandise is 60 of the 100 billion. Video games is about 20 of the 100 billion. Trading cards is only about 10 of the 100 billion. And sports, I'm not going to dive too deep. I'm not going to get into it. But sports alone in 1 year, like sports is massive. Sports is so integrated into like football season in certain cities, in certain towns, in certain areas across the country. Soccer, football, as they call it worldwide. That is like just inherent, built in to society, built into like, yeah, it is. If and when Pokemon, I mean, I don't think it could ever permeate society and permeate like humanity in the way that just sports in general has.
Yes, he asked a question. He says, on the competitive side, do you think the player base is the largest it's ever been? Do you think do you think that will translate to collectors as well and have a healthy balance? So I don't know enough about like the competitive side of Pokemon to tell you if right now the amount of people in it is greater than what I would assume is the largest amount of player base, which was 99. But I don't know if you guys know a little bit more of that answer.
I have absolutely no idea. All I can say is when I went to Worlds in DC, I was absolutely shocked by the number of players at the event. The number of people just playing at the event, and the number of tables that you had to walk past to go up to the main stage. It was unbelievable to me. Because before then, I have zero knowledge of like the actual TCG side of Pokemon. So for me, I was blown away by the number of people who actually played Pokemon at that kind of level. So I kind of do still think Pokemon is primarily a TCG, and to a lesser extent collectors, but I do think collecting is becoming more and more of a part of it. Pokemon obviously caters to the players for the most part, but they are starting to kind of cater to collectors with all of these really cool artworks. And these sets that aren't necessarily really good for players, but they're really cool for collectors. So I do think collectors are becoming a bigger part, but I do think Pokemon still primarily caters to the actual people who play the game.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like Worlds attendance is something that is publicly posted, I believe. NAIC attendance, all these different EU, CIC, LA, like all these different Oceania, Worlds, all these different competitions, you can see how many players are going. And one thing that we do get also, like we get every year, we get the annual Pokemon card production numbers. This isn't TCG specifically, but video game. You get annual video game sales as well. And I think Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet were some of the highest selling video games of all time in the entire history, like going back to maybe not quite what Red, Blue, and Yellow did, but there is some data out there if you're curious. Just look at like annual video game sales by year, annual Worlds attendance, how many people went to Worlds in London in 2022, how many are going to Worlds in 2023, how many qualified. You might not be able to see the exact number of how many went, but I think it is public information that you can search up how many qualified, how many are actually playing out there.
There's a couple good questions in the chat. First one, Fresh Stats says, PK, are you selling any CGC slabs for other people? Of course I am. But Witzcard says, this is a good question. He says, when you buy bulk cards to send for grading, like Hidden Fates, ETB birds, do you just go on TCG Player and pre-grade before sending? So for me, anytime it comes to like modern promos, especially ETB promos, I love to pick up my positions at the very, very beginning of that release because historically, prices are usually the cheapest for the raw cards, but the prices for the graded cards are usually at their highest. So that's when I like to make my positions on cards like those. I don't really like to go after like Hidden Fates ETB after the fact. And for me, it's mainly just eBay, and I look for whatever seller I could tell did a mass box opening, and he has quantity limits of like 25, 30, 50, and I'll just buy up all 50 of them. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit of a premium for that, but assuming you know how to, buy from eBay, you could recognize their seller rating and stuff like this. It's very easy to pick up 30 to 40 cards, no problem. I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on that too.
Yeah. For like the sealed stuff, I would be fine just buying those off TCG Player. Buying them or like I guess like Troll and Toad more so. Because TCG Player really doesn't do the whole sealed versus raw copy thing. And if I'm buying those types of promos, I would really prefer them to be sealed over just raw. So for me, it would be eBay, Troll and Toad, buy them sealed, go through them before I actually open them, and then submit them off to PSA. The ones that I think can get 10s, and then just list the ones that I think can get 9s and below as regular sealed copies. But yeah, I would do that route. I think that'd be the way to go. I tried doing like you did with the TCG Player route. Maybe it was just my first batch. I ordered like 50 cards, Crown Zenith hits, and I think I'm submitting like 20 into PSA for grading. The other 30, I'm just selling raw. Because centering was a huge issue, which for Crown Zenith that was an issue. So maybe I just picked a bad set to start with. I don't know. But I think for like the buying raw, grading, selling play, if you have the time, eBay is your best bet. Just type in whatever card. Sort by low to high, just click on every single listing, look at the front picture, look at the back picture. If it's well centered, buy it. If it's not, move on to the next listing. That way you have it's not just like a complete gamble as to what you're going to be getting.
Yeah, one thing you've got to watch out for on TCG Player is that their highest condition quality is near mint. And if you look at PSA's grading scale, a near mint is a 7. So every card you buy, guaranteed through TCG Player, will be a 7 at best. Full stop, end of sentence, end of conversation. Never try to source gradable cards on TCG Player because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Flip it, send it, post it. Facts.
No, I did not have the same luck as you. I'll give it one more shot, but it was not anywhere close to how lucky you got.
I would say don't even try.
Your source cards on TCG Player, you wind up with piles and piles of these things. That's what happens.
Hold on,
Exactly.
to Discord.
You'll never make money.
So.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. And then even the sealed ones, it's like, okay, you could go the sealed route, and then even the sealed ones were such shitty quality, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for gem mint cards, the only way you seem to be able to achieve them is to buy them in PSA 10 cases already. Because if you buy in TCG Player, they're only called near mint. So you might as well just go click the affiliate links below. Click the affiliate link while you're over on PK's. I think PK is now public with his eBay. If you didn't know, click his affiliate link in his description.
It's a slow go. It's a slow go, Dan.
I'm just saying.
I was doing 5 cards a day. I'm currently made it through like old made cards. I'm currently on Chinese Scarlet and Violet promos. So
there you go.
It's a way till they get.
Well, if anyone wanted to buy like a gem mint old maid card, they don't sell sealed gem mint old maid cards. They only sell sealed new old maid cards. So I think the only way to achieve those would be to go to PK's website or go to PK's YouTube, click his old affiliate link, and then buy some of them in his eBay.
Technically they do sell them sealed in gem mint quality.
They don't say gem mint in the title though, so I don't know if I trust it. I would be cautious.
Here, this is what they look like sealed. It's a complete sealed deck, guys. Don't worry, they're all gem mint in there. I'm pretty sure it has a greater than 90% gem mint 10 rate, so you'll be just fine.
Are those still doing well outside of the Charizard?
There's no Charizard, so.
Oh, that's no.
There's the Gengar. The Gengar does fine. Yeah, I think they do fine. No.
Haven't you seen Professor Oak's post? It's all about Encanto now. It's all about the Madrigals. Retro wants to know, what, if anything, would be a threat to the Pokemon market at this point? Just people lose interest? Question mark. What could make the House of Cards come tumbling down?
I guess a lot more people learning how to grade. That would be the first thing. The like a recession with the economy. That would be an obvious one. The first thing people are gonna stop doing is buying collectibles and stuff that really isn't necessities. So if we ever come to a time where we have a major recession again, I think that would be a time where Pokemon really slows down.
So for me, the number one thing is, and even me bringing up a hypothetical, and I'm going to read out the question for Retrospect asked. He said, what, if anything, would threaten Pokemon market at this point? Just people lose interest, question mark. And even though I'm going to bring this up because it's a hypothetical, there will still be people out there that this will trigger. But if Pokemon just reprint stuff, and not just reprints, Scarlet and Violet, doesn't just reprint Sword and Shield, goes back and reprints Sun and Moon. And there's going to be people out there that are going to be so mad that I'm giving a hypothetical. That would threaten Pokemon's market. If you go back, and right now we're starting to see some Cosmic Eclipse packs trickle into like Orbeetle V boxes, Rapidash V boxes available at Target. If Pokemon goes back and reprints Team Up booster boxes, that would be a threat to the Pokemon market. And I'm just telling you, even though this is a hypothetical, it will still infuriate people to hear that. That's why it's such a threat, because people think it's such an impossibility that if it ever does become a possibility, the market as we know it will crash and burn.
Demand, yeah, like supply is so underappreciated, the effect that supply can have on the market. Like people think demand is the only thing that matters, this, that. If they print, like there is an alternate reality where they printed too much Evolving Skies, where they printed too much, like too much of their printer demand was targeted towards Evolving Skies. That could be an $80 box in today's climate had they printed enough. Like people don't think that's real. People will hear that and not believe it. But yeah, if and when Scarlet and Violet is not selling well. So talking about Magazine Exchange, let me actually revisit the website quickly. So while I said Lost Origin, a box with a Battle Academy is $108.95. A box of Silver Tempest or Lost Origin with a Battle Academy is $108.95. Paldea Evolved and Scarlet and Violet, I was allocated those sets at $95 or $96 a piece. Today, you can buy those through distributors at $96 with a Battle Academy bundle. So I actually just had a call with one of my distributors this morning, and he offered me Lost Origin, a terrible bundle deal. He offered me Silver Tempest, a terrible bundle deal. Scarlet and Violet and Paldea Evolved were cheaper than the Sword and Shield sets. Even though the MSRP is higher, supply was overdone, demand is low, MSRP is irrelevant. I think PK, I think you're one of the ones who constantly says MSRP is irrelevant for booster boxes. And as of today, I'm finding that, like, absolutely with distributors, they have, whether the demand was lower than they thought, whatever the case may be, they've printed more Scarlet and Violet than they can get rid of currently. So yeah, like if they go back, like right now, who knows what Obsidian Flame will do? Who knows what 151 will do? We'll have to see how it goes from here. But if they have a year, if they have a couple years, if they have a few years where there's a lull, where there's some bad years in a row, and they keep printing too much and printing too much and printing too much, they can tank a lot of this stuff. Will they? I think they're smarter than that generally. I don't think they will. I have quite a bit of faith and trust in them, but they absolutely could, for sure.
That could be the biggest threat to the Pokemon market too, is people's trust in the Pokemon company to make the right
for sure.
choices too, Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I mean, if we do run into a scenario in which we just get a bunch of Crimson Invasion sets, and we're not running into it just yet, but like we're running into dangerous territory when people say Scarlet and Violet's a mediocre set, or people say Paldea Evolved is a mediocre set. When you put like 1-to-1 Paldea Evolve or Scarlet and Violet versus almost all the Pokemon sets ever printed, they're still Goliaths, and they win like all the time when you compare them 1-to-1. I just think that people have been so absolutely spoiled when it comes to Pokemon in the last couple years that if they are handed like a bunch of mediocre sets, they just won't be able to handle it. Like they don't know how to handle it. They're like, "What do you mean? Like I could buy a booster box and it doesn't 2x in 2 years? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Like every booster box 2x in 2 years. Every single booster box. And it's like, all right, pump your brakes a little bit, buddy. It's like that's not really the way things work, and people get so spoiled that they think that's how it always works. And even if you get like, you know, mediocre set, mediocre set, mediocre set, people are still going to have in their back of the head like the next set will be the winner. And if it's not the winner, they're just going to find themselves like that could be a threat to Pokemon. Is just a long, it doesn't even have to be a down period. It could just be a stagnation period because people don't even know what stagnation looks like. Like we're in dangerous territory right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over time.
Ben Lowry asked, originally I got into Pokemon because of the anime. I can't stand the new stuff. Do you think the cartoons affect the future of cards? And do we know if people actually like the new cartoons? I don't think there's any way to see like I think a lot of them are on like Netflix and stuff, wherever else they show up, I'm not sure. I don't think there's a way to see like the ratings for the various anime like view counts and things like that. But one thing we can see, I do know, is like the annual video game sales. And those, I forget it. Let me Google it quickly. I forget if Scarlet and Violet was as high as Sword and Shield, but I know the last few years have been really good for that. What do you guys think? Do you guys watch the current animes? PK, do you watch them with your kids at all? Or no?
No, they're too young at this point. I've been putting on some like older stuff on the TV, but they're not into it yet.
My kids know
One of these days.
My kids know the theme song for the originals, both of them.
Wait, did they change the theme song?
Oh, they don't still have. Yeah, they don't still have the themes. There are several different theme songs along the various generations.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Shows how up to date I am on the Pokemon anime.
Yeah.
Now I used to watch it as a kid, before school, after school. After that, I have not seen it in years and years and years.
Last season I really watched hardcore was like season 10 Black and White with like Dawn and Piplup. I really liked like that character arc they had. But after Black and White, I haven't really watched much. I watch a little bit of like XY with Ash and the Greninja and all that, but those are very sporadic and they're mainly just one-off episodes to kind of see like what that bond was like. But removing out of that, no, I haven't really watched much. It's tough to keep up with the anime. I know Rattle Pokemon has seen every single episode. I want to say there's some other people have seen every single episode, but it's just sometimes too much.
Wilt Chamberlain wants to know, fun question, price or rarity wise, what's your best graded card return of the year so far?
For me, I think it would be Crown Zenith. Those cards were super. Nothing like it wasn't anything like the Giratina was $300-$400 at the time. The gold V-Star. So it was nothing like crazy expensive in terms of an individual card, but like the entire Galarian Gallery set was basically worth grading. And the print quality on my batch was really really good. So I did well with 10s on those cards. And so I think like not like a single card, but like that entire submission did really well for me. And so I would have to go with that one for the best like overall submission of the year. Single card wise, I really haven't sent anything super high end.
I'm looking at PSA right now, and just I'd be curious how many submissions you guys have sent just this year. So just this year, I have 1, 2, 7, 8, 12. I only have 12 submissions this year, but I guess that's like a little less than 2 a month on average.
I would say that's good. I probably have fewer than that. I might have 10.
If
9,
I had to,
10.
I'm probably around like 20 if I had to guess.
20? Jesus.
I've sent like
step up my game.
I've sent more the past few months. Like I'm definitely amping up.
Yeah, so I think my best. When did Charizard UPCs come out?
How about special delivery Charizard? I know that you and I both did like the hot potato play on that one.
Yep.
I think I sold it for $675. That was last year though.
Yeah, I can pull up my sale. I'll tell you what I.
That actually was
I
last
think it
year.
was
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I showed mine. I have a one-off purchase that I made. I purchased a Lily Chan Art Academy Pikachu. It only graded a CGC 8, It's probably also a PSA 8 as well. I went with CGC just because they would have been cheaper to grade the same slab. And PSA is doing PSA things, deciding not to grade Art Academy cards currently. I don't think it's worthwhile of PK asking Nat Turner what's going on there because PSA is just being PSA. But yeah, that's probably like the rarest card. That's definitely the rarest card that I've graded this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking through my submissions. I've done a lot of more bulkier cards this year. I can't really think of anything that really stuck out.
Most
As like a
cards that I
great-
grade these days are like 10K pop plus, 5K pop plus. Like that's by design.
Yeah,
They sell
I'm
quicker.
seeing like some of my Japanese SVV or Scarlet and Violet promo, and there's like 36 of them in one submission. So those are definitely bulkier.
How many
I
did you
would
send to
have to agree.
BGS?
There. Oh, right now 0. I haven't made that play yet. They're still sitting in front of me.
Perfect. I just sent 100.
Well,
So that should be 20
Well, you
black
haven't done
labels.
it yet.
I still have these. I haven't even like cut out yet from the package, Dan.
I'm not sending
So-
Chinese to BGS personally, so Chinese is all you, if you want it.
Oh, okay. Good, then. Thank you for leaving that.
There you go.
Um, but I don't know. It's fun. You should see my submissions recently. I was telling you, I'm not going to talk like about it, but there's submissions I've sent to PSA very recently that I haven't even got them back, and like, there's a part of me that I'm super worried that the cards like aren't even fake because I'm doing some crazy stuff right now.
So
Is
Tron.
this the point where I could show?
Oh,
Go ahead, ask a question.
go
Before I
ahead
go-
and shill whatever you want to shill. I mean, we're
No,
two and a half.
before I regret saying.
Tron Adams wants to know if you're chasing a black label, should you send in raw cards or crossover PSA and CGC 10s? So if you're chasing a black label on a card that's widely available, raw mint, you should absolutely just buy raw mint in high quantity and grade the best of the best. If you're talking Celebrations Charizard, if you're talking 001 SVP, if you're talking something where you can literally go to TCG Player or eBay or wherever and buy 100 of them mint with one click of a button. If you're talking like Logan Paul style, I want a BGS 10 first edition Charizard. I'm not talking black label, but like BGS 10. Like say you want a WotC card in black label. Say you want a card that is like you can't just instantly source 100 with one click of a button, but you might be able to buy 5 or 10 PSA 10s. If you're adamant that you need a BGS 10 or you need a black label, it comes into play where your best opportunity might just to be to buy already graded PSA 10s, CGC 10s, things of that nature, and then look for the cross. But if you're looking at super low pop cards like that to begin with, good luck. If you're looking at ultra modern high pop cards, buy them raw mint in high quantity and send the best of the best. Absolutely.
Got nothing to add. I think that was a perfect answer.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Alexander Lowe wants to know what's the safest way to crack a slab for regrading? Just pliers and a screwdriver, or are there safer ways? I think I have a live stream from like a year ago this time where I was using pliers and a screwdriver. A butter knife. Shout out Pokemon Radar. I think Pokemon Radar is the one who always emphasized that a butter knife would serve you better. It's a little bit wider. You pry the plastic from like a wider area. You're less prone to cracking it on an individual point here. But yeah, I would think something like cutting pliers to nip off the corner, and then a butter knife to actually do the cracking. If and when you get it to where the top is broken off and you need to go down a side, then you might need a narrow screwdriver in lieu of a butter knife.
Yeah. So here's an example of a card. All you need is a pair of these pliers.
There you
Whatever
go.
you do, don't cut these cards because this plastic's gonna fly all over the place. I got a trash can right here. I'll cut this card for you and I'll show you the exact way to do it.
Here we
So
go.
you want to take your pliers, you want to put them like on the corner of the card there, and make sure that plastic goes in the trash and not across your room.
Wear safety glasses. PPE, please. Proper PPE.
Safety glasses. PK is a professional. He doesn't need
No
safety.
safety glasses. So pretty much that's how you want to do it. So you're going to cut your corners like that. That's how I do it. If you want to cut these bottom corners, you can, but it's not necessary. And then the next thing you want is like a smaller flat head. And all you got to do, put it.
Hold on,
go to
PK.
5.
If I looked correctly, I think that's a quad 9 plus. I think that would qualify for the new Mint Plus 9.5 grade at CGC for only $5.
Yeah, because that's what I want. So this is all you got to do is get your screwdriver within that label, and all I'm gonna do is just spin this and like pop it out. So
Yep.
you hear it crack, and then you
Nev-
just put your fingers in the case like this.
And never go towards the cards. Like PK is going parallel to the card. Never go towards the card at all. There are so many gifs out there. There's so many clips out there. I did one on my stream where I destroyed a card.
I was gonna say, I think that was the first card you tried to crack too, where it broke unevenly and it just turned into a mess.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. So I'm glad this happened. So this is a great learning thing for people. So it just fell out. Well, it's not from the CGC 91085. But a great thing is when they get when they get stuck, a great thing to do is just to take a penny sleeve, and you take that penny sleeve and you slide it behind the card, and it will pop it right out for you.
Oh
But
man,
this
that's
card's
funny. Nice little ding on the corner
So-
now.
To be honest with you, this is like such a minty card. I was so mad at CGC.
It's probably
These are
still
all-
a PSA 10.
Oh, I guarantee it. I sent a bunch of these cards to PokeRev, by the way. I cracked a bunch of CGC, really, really minty CGC ones, and I sent him a PokeRev because I was hoping he would do like a cross submission, and he hasn't done it yet, but I can't wait for that one. The little Growlithe Skyridge. But here, don't worry. But don't worry, because we still got 4 more 9s from
Ooh.
CGC. Thanks a lot, CGC. That still need to be cracked.
Hey,
so
hey, for only $5,
One down, 4 to go.
for only
only
$5,
one has been escaped.
those could be Mint Plus 9.5s. As long
Look
as
at
they're
that
quad
one,
9
Dan.
pluses.
It's just 9 across
Oh,
the board.
it's a quad 9. There we go. That's probably like a special kind of case there.
They got two quad 9s across the board.
Big money.
Oh, God, I hate you, CGC, so much. How dare they do this?
PK, while you're on the topic of CGC, do you think there's a chance in the future they'll ever bring back the perfect 10? Is 3 10s too
Yeah.
many?
They'll bring back 10s, perfect 10s. I think it would be stupid if they didn't. Yeah,
I don't think they
100%.
will. I don't think they will. I think this change was to get away from those super hard grades and to make grading easier, like PSA. I think if they kind of went back on this initial decision and started offering perfect 10s again, I think it would just be them not knowing what direction they want to go in. I hope they stick with this direction. Keep this grading scale. Don't switch it again. I think if they do, and they add another layer of perfect 10s, it's just gonna be the end of CGC. Plus, I want my Squirtle to remain Pop 1 forever.
I think it's such bad branding for the CGC Pristine 10. Like they have this new label that some people are saying looks great. Some people say they don't like it. Like any label, there's going to be subjectivity around how people think it looks. But anyways, the new CGC Pristine 10 that pulls down all the prior perfects and then encompasses all the new like pristine 10s. 9.5s go to 10s, but that's only a gem mint 10, not a pristine 10. So these premium pristine 10s have an issue in branding in that they are the silver medal. One great thing about PSA, they give out PSA 10s very easily relative to other grading card companies, highest grades. So to get a, air quotes, perfect card at PSA, the highest grade you can achieve, 10 out of 10, you get that most of the time you submit. 42% of the time you submit a Pokemon card to PSA, you get a perfect grade. Whereas with Beckett, you only get it like maybe 4 or 5% of the time in a black label. But black label has always been black label. It's always have that feel. It's always been gold medal. It's always been first. CGC has this weird dynamic where last week you could get a perfect 10 out of 10 card. Today, you can only get a pristine card. In their past, historically speaking, there have been higher cards. So you will never get a perfect card again at CGC if they stand with their current grading scale. In my opinion, personally, what they should have done, they should have gotten rid of all half grades and they should have kept a perfect 10 and a pristine 10. Or a perfect 10 and a gem mint 10, whatever they want to call it. The words are all arbitrary. The numbers are what people want, though. Like, what PSA gives you and why they dominate the market, they give you easy 10s. Matt Quinn said it himself. Big number, big money. PSA has perfected that formula because they give you the biggest number, the biggest percent of the time. Big number, big money. CGC has this weird dynamic where they only give you a big number part of the time, and then there's the same number. There's a pristine 10 up here, and there's a gem mint 10 down here. So gem mint 10 is like, we like big number 10, but there's a better 10. But the better 10 isn't as good as the best 10 historically, because the perfect 10 used to exist. So I think CGC, like I'm bullish on their change because I'm bullish on the market not being very savvy or intelligent about the whole thing. Big number, big money kind of thing. But I am bearish on CGC's branding and CGC's, as PK likes to say, like screwing over the long-term, early buy-in people who have gone through multiple scale changes now, multiple label changes, all this and that. So it's an interesting dynamic, and I'll just wait and see how it pans out. As PK said, like not so negatively to where I'm not interacting with them today. I'm actively submitting to them today. But as PK said, canary in the coal mine, all that good stuff. Even PK will come back if there's money to be made there. I'm just still gambling today.
I'm right there with you.
So yeah, we're all businessmen at the end of the day, right?
What do you think? What do you think's going to happen with perfect 10s? Are they going to like long term? Are they going to have a decent value, or are people going to completely forget about them and they're going to become they're? I don't think they'll ever become worthless, but are they going to become something that is super tough to sell because nobody wants these cards anymore? There's only like a select group of buyers that actually still go after the perfect 10s.
So for me, the answer is like, honestly, I don't care. Like as of today, I sent out 12 sets of Nagaba evolutions, and I have 2 perfect Umbreons. I have a perfect Jolteon. I have a perfect Vaporeon, Sylveon. I have almost one of each perfect card minimum. I am selling them today for profit because if somebody can galaxy brain the thought that someday these can never be replicated and they're going to be worth big money, great on them. I know that I'm making a massive margin today selling them. I don't know. It feels like the future is gambling. So I'm just happy to take that margin today, buy more raw, buy more sealed, and continue to grade and flip them. But who knows? Like I know that there's some people out there that have these pop one certain cards that might be fairly popular, and they're trying to like think, well, what am I supposed to do here? Me personally, as a consumer, I could not care any less whatsoever. I don't care about PSA 10 premiums. I will not pay you more for a PSA 10, let alone a BGS 10, CGC 10, Black Label, Perfect, whatever. Like, I just don't care about condition, rarity. So if and when the market bears out that like Perfect 10s are these Galaxy Brain investing play, I'm going to lose out, I guess, because I'm selling all mine today. Every one I have is listed. Every Perfect 10.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people sitting on their perfect tens, hoping that that happens in the future. But yeah, I'm not going to be a player in that market. For those, and I think a lot of the people that are being a player in those perfect 10 markets, I think a lot of those people graded them cards themselves. So hey, more power to them. I hope you guys are successful. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do well long term. I think people are gonna forget about them. Nobody can. It's like one off stuff where there's not gonna be any more perfect tens. So nobody can really build any type of sets. They're gonna be super hard to find. So I think people are just gonna forget about them. But then Matt actually brought up a good point in the live stream where you might know about these, Dan, but the PCGS Rattler holders, the old really old style PCGS coin holders, those actually have a pretty substantial premium to them. And it's really just because they're these really old style holders, and back then the grading standards were a little bit tougher. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that stuff.
Yeah, I anytime I hear a high-ranking official at a grading card company say anything that is positively benefiting the product that they develop and generate and whatever, like, okay, like, okay. I don't know enough about coins to know if that's actually a thing, but yeah, okay, sure, we'll see how it pans out.
I was just surprised by that, because that is a thing with coins. I had never thought about that before, so it kind of made me
Is it actually though?
think a
Like,
little bit more. But it is. It's like a substantial premium, like 20, like 10 to 20%, over what like a modern graded copy would go for.
so it's like 2 cert, 4 cert, 7 cert, but where 2 cert is actually the better one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complete opposite of social line. But it made me think. Personally, I think it's not going to be like that. Just because they're so hard to get, you're not going to be able to add any more into the pop.
Almost
But it'll
worthless.
be interesting to see what happens.
Almost worthless
I'm
in my
banking on my
opinion.
Squirtle. Worried.
Like that's really silly in my opinion. Like almost worth it. The card is still the card. Like I don't see them going below PSA 10. I don't see them going below. But they're not doing what Black Labels are doing. I don't see them doing what Black Labels are doing. I think you have to be in the Black Label for that to actually matter. How long the Black Label will remain to be a thing. If and when BGS were to ever get their stuff together, if and when BGS were ever to be able to turn around a card for sub $10 in sub 1 or 2 months without charging you up front, I think the Black Label premium would largely go away. Like I just sent 100 001 SVPs, or I'm sending them tomorrow, I guess. They're literally right beside me in a medium flat rate box. A large portion of the reason why those Black Labels are $300 to $400 is because they're miserable to do business with. And it's scary. And honestly, PSA, the same damn thing. Not as bad, but when you have to submit and then wait 3 months, first in, F off, pizza tracker, you got to wait 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, who knows? And then you got to deal with somebody who got laid last night, somebody who got laid off last night. Like, you never know what kind of grade you're going to get. Like, just the amount of issues going on in all these grading card companies are honestly what buoys the price to a lot of these cards, and it's just crazy.
No, I mean, especially with Beckett. Beckett's scary. It's like you just send your cards away to Beckett and you just hope magically they make it back to you one day. You don't know where they're at, like when they're coming back to you, and then they just magically make it back one day.
Yep.
But yeah, it's scary. I, I d- I don't know if you ever got a chance to watch this live, but it was only up for like a day. But uh, Professor Oak had a BGS employee on his live,
I
and the
watched it.
dude was just he was spilling all type of tea.
I think
And
he
when
was
I
a
was watching that, I
janitor.
was like, yeah, but when I was watching, I was like, there's no way that this video could be like up. And the very next day, Professor Oak removed that video because he went and told his manager, and they're like, you went and did what?
Yeah,
Like, did you watch it though, right, Dan?
I did. I think
Yeah.
because one of the issues was he was talking about 9.2s, 9.4s, 9.6s with respect to cards, which obviously is a
Yeah.
thing when it comes to like CGC grading.
Internal.
Like
Yeah, the internal grading though.
this guy did not know. I don't know what the exact scenario was, but this guy was not a grader. This guy was not in R&D for cards. This guy was not a part of the actual grading card process.
Yeah. Well, the way I remember him explaining that was he was working in the receiving department, but he was training to be a grader. And the way he explained that, like 9.2, 9.4, 9.6 meaning their internal grading scales, they do those like point ones and then they'll round up or round down accordingly. So, like, an example would be a 9.3 for their internal scale would be a 9.5, or a 9.8 for their internal scale would be like a pristine 10. I thought that was the way he explained it. I could have misunderstood him though, but
And yeah, I guess we'll see in the future how things like that go. Well, one thing that makes me think of is how, like, PSA has obviously been king for Pokemon for the entire history of Pokemon for 30 years. It's kind of mind-blowing to me how staunch of supporters some people are, and how PSA only, BGS only, see, like, I'm not just talking PSA, CGC only, PSA only, BGS only, how dead set in their ways certain people are with certain grading companies. I don't know for sure, but like 5, 10, 20 years from now, there could be a automated grading company. I don't know whether it'll be AGS or TAG or one of these current like robotic AI automatic grade, like computer graded, but it feels plausible that some company could just come out of nowhere and revolutionize like the whole system of grading. Because anybody that is being true and honest to themselves and others, there are no grading companies that are like doing a 10 out of 10 job. There are no Gem Mint 10 grading card companies. Like, all the companies have their own issues. That said, I think overall, like, grading card companies are a big benefit to the community, to the entire like hobby as a whole, but all of them could vastly improve, in my opinion at least. I think there's so much room for improvement in consistency and repeatability in the measurement.
I don't think we'll ever might be a strong word, but I can't see another grading company coming in and taking much of any market share. I think if anything, say like AGS starts to take off. I think if anything, PSA, BGS, or CDC will just buy them out.
But the only reason
I think
it's
if
like
anybody got a chance, it was CGC. CGC was the closest. They were knocking on the door, but
it's pure
8.5,
irrationality. Like, it's honestly pure irrationality why people wouldn't like. It's kind of a hot take. It's kind of like people might completely disagree with this. Basement grading card companies almost get too bad of a rap in many instances, because at the end of the day, the card inside the slab is still the card. Like, I guarantee you that there are some small mom and pop grading card companies, whether that's AGS, whether that's Ace, whether that, I don't know who it is. I don't really care, and I don't know. But I can almost guarantee you the most consistent, the most accurate grading card company is not PSA, is not BGS, is not CGC. I know that Gary used to sing the praises. He used to know the guy who used to run, was it MAP, Nick? You probably know Nick.
Yep.
The company that had 4 rivets in the corners. Like, grading, if we're being honest with ourselves, grading is not that difficult. The part that's difficult is the unbiased part. The part that's difficult is the unbiased and consistent part. And given PSA, BGS, CGC scale, given the amount of scaling they had to do in the past couple of years, it would not shock me if there were some other company, XYZ, whatever they are. I don't really care. But I can almost guarantee there's a more consistent, more accurate grading card company out there. But the fact of the matter is that people don't really care and don't really want consistent, accurate grades. They want like big numbers, big money, whatever. They want the marketing. They want Supreme t-shirts. They don't want, I'm not a t-shirt guru. I don't know who actually makes the best dollar per like t-shirt thing, but I'm pretty damn sure it's not Supreme selling a $300 t-shirt. There's probably someone selling like a $20, $30, $40 t-shirt that's actually like your best value bang for the buck. Got a little ranty there. I turn the lights red and I get ranty.
Red is definitely needed for tonight.
Mr. Walrus made me do it.
Mr. Walrus made.
Oh, PK, you're muted.
I said I like the thumbnail where I'm just an old man ranting. It's like that meme from The Simpsons. Old man rants at cloud. Like that's what it should have been.
I have my Quaxley hat too. I have my Quaxley mask, hat, hood, whatever the hell it is. I brought it just in case it was needed.
I see we got Basic Trainer finally in the chat. Took him long enough.
There we go.
And then old Mr. Jim Carson from Z&G Emporium. It's good to see you.
Yeah, James says, Dan, none of this matters. Just grab cash. Said by the banker, I being the Mexican fisherman. We have an ongoing back and forth over who's the banker and who's the fisherman in that analogy. Let me scroll back. I completely lost track of where we were in chat, but I do have the highlights so I can see where we were.
Oh, perfect. The Quexley hat. I'm just now seeing like the live after the fact because there's such a lag on my end.
There's a terrible delay.
As always, Nick and PK can't see what I show on screen until like the YouTube live sees it. So yeah, my DSL internet is not capable of uploading my video to both YouTube and Discord. So apologies to my co-host and my guest.
So Dan, I mentioned this in a live a couple months back probably, but I brought up a question or like a kind of just a comment that I feel like I'm taking way more risks than I ever have in the past. And this goes to both you and Nick. Do you guys feel like you're taking way, way more risks than you might have in the past? And what I mean by risks is doing those more high risk type plays.
It's all relative. It is my take on it. So up until 2020, I did not take a penny out of Pokemon. 2020 to today, I have been taking like immense amounts of money annually out of Pokemon. In 2020, I've mentioned it before, I paid off my house and I paid a lot of money in taxes to make a lot of money to secure myself financially. And then due to what I did in 2020, I was able to quit my job in 2021 and then pursue this full time. And actually, just looking at the date today, I didn't even realize until I'm saying this. I think it's like the 2-year anniversary of when I put in my 2-week notice. So yeah, I literally quit my job like 2 years ago today. I didn't realize until just now. But yeah, I'm taking more risks in some ways in that the numbers are bigger, but in other ways I'm taking less risks because I'm taking more money out on a monthly basis. So risk is relative to how you want to define it and what you want to peg it to. So yeah, depending on your perspective, like full transparency, I'm taking more risk in that I'm spending more money monthly in Pokemon than I ever have. I'm grading more cards in Pokemon monthly than I ever have. But I am also, in the background, taking more money out and investing it in tax advantage accounts than I ever have as well. So it's a little bit of both, and I don't know how you'd want to define it. That's me personally. What about you, Nick?
I would pretty much agree with you. I think it's definitely you're buying a lot more, but at the same time, similar to you now that I am full time, I'm also taking money out of the hobby, whereas before I wasn't taking any money out of the hobby. So I think that's a big thing. And then I don't know. That's an interesting question. I almost think. I almost think to some extent I'm taking less risks now than I was back in the day. Because back then I didn't have as much knowledge that I do now. So there were a lot of stupid things that I bought that I thought looked cool, and then it turns out nobody else thought they looked cool, so I wouldn't be able to sell them. Whereas now, after doing this for so long, I kind of know, okay, that's something cool that people will actually want. Let me go ahead and buy that. Whereas this other thing, I think it's cool, but nobody else will think it's cool. So I'm going to pass on that one, or I'll offer less on that one, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's a combination of both that I'm taking more risk now in terms of buying more, grading more, spending a lot more money than I've ever have, but also taking less risks because of the kind of knowledge that I've built up over the years.
Yeah,
Like
like
I was able to tell buying 15,000 pins was a fantastic idea.
and just to simplify and reiterate, like me spending $100,000 on a month of purchases for Pokemon today feels less risky than spending $10,000 in a given month in 2019. Not because, like, just because the market is different, I'm more established, I have a better foundation. So it's not like one to one, because it's not even like you can make a proportional comparison market to market, year to year, because me fundamentally, my situation as an individual, as a household, as a whatever, has just changed in a way that the numbers are bigger, but the risk is lower in a lot of ways. Garen has a question. How do you know you have a black label candidate? I've only ever sent to PSA, but how much more in depth do you have to look at the card for a black label versus a PSA 10 candidate? These questions are always funny to me. Like, you need to be careful, but I would honestly say, if you look at the pop report for any given card, and I will just say that the 001 SVP in Japanese has a 90% PSA 10 rate and it has a 20% black label rate. That does not guarantee that if you buy 10 copies from eBay blindly and send them, that you will get 9 PSA 10s or that you will get 2 black labels. But if you do a minuscule amount of pre-grading, as I did this morning when I prepared my BGS, CGC, and PSA submissions of my 001 SVPs, you will likely be able to match or exceed the population reports. I don't know how people don't understand it. I kind of memed on it earlier. I've constantly memed on it on my channel and on different conversations. TCG Player sells near mint. But if they're selling near mint of an ultra modern card that grades 80% PSA 10 with PSA, that card is going to have a high chance of having a PSA 10 grade. There are ways to increase your odds of getting a PSA 10 buying through TCG Player, buying through eBay. But yeah, ultimately, look at the card. Like, grading is not hard. If it's off center, it will less likely get a black label. If it has a white dot, it will less likely get a black label. If it has a surface scratch, it will less likely get a black label. But if it has those things, it still could. But it shouldn't, but it might. Because grading companies are grading companies. Like, what are we talking about here? It's not that hard. Grading a card is not hard. Look, open your eyes.
Yeah. You're to be honest with everybody out there, you're probably spending more time looking at your card than the grader. So
you are 1000%. This conversation, we've spent more time analyzing the thoughts of our graders looking at our cards than they will even like. Yeah, absolutely. Look, are there imperfections?
The amount of cards a grader would have graded within this live is a preposterous amount of cards.
Yeah. It's like, and I know Garen, like I'm not trying to like put down on the question or anything like that. Shout out to Garen. Garen is a real one. Garen is all over the Discords, all over the live chats. But it is a fairly obvious answer in that if the card has an imperfection, it shouldn't get a PSA 10. Well, depending, because a PSA 10 is not perfect, nor is a black label. Generally speaking, a black label card is better than a PSA 10, but neither is perfect. So the more issues you see with your card, the less likely it is to get either of these highest grades. But they do all day, every day. Cards that shouldn't get them, get them. Overall, on the average, on the whole, these grading card companies do a decent job. And cards that should get 10s, get 10s. Card that should get 9s, get 9s. Card that should get black labels, get black labels. Cards that should get 9.5s, get 9.5s. Like, overall, they're very, very good at their jobs. But there are definitely things that fall through the cracks. So, yeah, I don't know, Nick, PK, do you guys have, like, these super duper secrets at guaranteeing a black label? Or like, what are you guys doing to ensure black labels or PSA 10s?
I think it's pretty easy. It's like corners, edges, surface centering.
Yeah,
if they all look good, I'm good. You know,
the better they look, the better the chance. The worse they look, the worse the chance. I mean, I have some black labels beside me.
Tools and all this stuff. It's like, I don't need a centering tool. I literally could just look at it and go off-centered.
People talk about loops. People talk about centering tools. People talk about, like, are you kidding me? These grading card companies, maybe on Ultra Express, Illustrator, like high tier level, your bulk grader is not using a centering tool, is not using like these super duper scanning machines. Like CGC, shout out to CGC. They have done some amazing in-depth articles on the no hollow. Like Rusty. Like Rusty has, I believe he's bought some of the no hollow, or maybe Zach too, has bought some of the no hollow base set 2 Charizard, the no hollow Shadowless cards. CGC has done some super in-depth work on like authenticating obscure error cards and things of that nature. Your average 001 SVP is not going into those machines. It is not going through any of those things. They look at it, they're like, oh yeah, this is one of the 5 million 001 SVPs that were produced. This is one of the 10,000 001 SVPs we looked at in the past year. This is a 10. Let's go. Moving along. Okay, the next one's a 10 too. The next one's a 9.5. The next one's a 10. One every 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Are you saying they're not using the metal ruler like in the old PSA video?
8 years, 10 years ago, E4. I love that E4 post. Shout out Swolepoke.
Yep. And I just want to point out, it doesn't seem like someone watched the latest episode of Next Gen TCG. because Mr. Gem Mint highlighted his CGC non-hollow base at 2 Charizard.
Oh,
I
did he?
I
So,
listened to it
Zach,
this
I watch
morning.
you. Dan doesn't watch you
I
guys.
I listened to it this morning and I commented because he actually shouted me out like 5 minutes into the video. I remember.
Yeah, Mr. What does he call you? Mr. Catch not catch 'em all.
They always call me gotta catch 'em
Gotta
all
catch 'em
because
all.
that
Gotta
was my
catch 'em all.
E4 username. Yeah. Here we go. Brad G card says, Dan, I'm legally blind. How do I look at the card when I cannot see? So are BGS graders. So are CGC graders. So are PSA graders.
That just puts you on a level playing field. You're still good. Don't worry.
You're all set. You're all set. If you buy a card that has a 90% 10 rate, you're probably in good shape. I will say. I will say, so it is 11:30. We are nearing 3 hours. I see a couple yawns coming out of PK. I've yawned myself a couple times. Does anyone here on stream have a bedtime? Do we want to wrap up by any certain time? I'm good to go till whenever. But we normally do run from like what do we run? We run from like 1 till 4:30 or so, 3.5 hours. So I don't know if we want to call it midnight. I don't know if we want to set a later time, earlier time. Where are you guys at?
Midnight's good. That gives us like 33 minutes. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say midnight because I do have to wake up early tomorrow.
I got to be up at 5, so that gives me a solid 5
Ooh,
hours.
I don't have to wake up that early, but
Yeah, PK has a real job. So
I gotta wake up at like 8.
Yeah, I got a real job. I'm at work. I start my day at 7, so.
we'll be respectful of PK's time.
There's a 7 a.m.
Yeah, PK has a real job.
Pokemon time.
Yeah. Let me look for the next question.
I will be right back though.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was funny during my last live. I had Josh Old Card Shop on it. Like he mentioned that he's like, I get up early. I get up at 8:30. And the comment section was just like, I can't believe Josh said 8:30 is early.
Yeah.
8:30 is like the crack of dawn.
For Nick, it's crack of dawn. Nick, when we do our live stream, drive stream down to Charlotte, what time do you plan to leave your house in order for us to like get
See,
to
I think if I'm doing something exciting, like if I'm going fishing in the morning, driving down to Charlotte, I can wake up. I'm planning on leaving 4:30, or maybe not that early. I want to plan on getting to Charlotte like 7:30, 8 o'clock that night. So
Okay.
whatever time I have to leave, 5, whatever time that may be, I'll be fine waking up then because it's something exciting. Going fishing, me and my dad used to wake up 3:30 in the morning to drive down to the Cape and take the boat out. Completely fine waking up that early. If it's something like going to work, I cannot wake up. I am terrible about that. On a normal day, I wake up like 9:30. That's when my day normally starts.
I'm thinking about going home by 9 a.m. I can't even imagine waking up at 9 a.m.
I actually just
Once you have kids, Nick, you're done for.
I just
sleep.
I just booked my flight and I'm flying out. I'm gonna be in Charlotte at like 7 or 8 o'clock p.m. Thursday night, and then I'm gonna be flying out at like 8:30 p.m. Sunday night. But I am not big. The issue is if I book something too early, like if I have to leave my house for a flight at 3 a.m., which I've had to do before for a collectacon, I will just not sleep the night before. Because what I will do is like, if I want to count backwards, at 3 a.m., I should go to bed by 8 to get like my normal 7-8 hours of sleep, maybe 7 or 8 to get my 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I can't. Like my body physically won't let me fall asleep that early. I'm not tired, so I can't. I try to fall asleep at my normal time of 11 to 1 a.m. That's normally where I go to bed. And I'll just look at the clock, I'll set my alarm, and I'll be like, if I fall asleep instantly, I have 4 hours of sleep. And then I'll think that in my mind while I watch the clock tick down to like, okay, if I fall asleep now, it's 3 hours. Now if I fall asleep, it's 2 hours. Now it's like, okay, there's 1 hour to go. I might as well just get up, get out of bed, pack my bags, and head on out, and maybe stop at Dunkin', grab an iced tea and a donut or whatever. Because like if I have to wake up before 6, I just don't go to bed because I can't, and I hate that. Like I'm bad with that.
No, I'm the same way. It's tough sleeping the night before a collecticon. My mind is always like racing. Okay, did I remember to pack this? Did I grab this? I got to do this before I leave tomorrow. But it's like you're better off just staying up. You're not getting any sleep anyway.
Yep.
But I will be right back.
Okay. So
Oh, boy.
PK, Leaf Green Goblin wants to know, what do we consider low pop, trophy cards aside? I mean, the lower the lower. I hear people saying, a lot of people saying, low pop I used to consider 100 for like WotC, but now I consider it like 2,000 for modern. 10, 20 years from now, I mean, pop is pop. There might be certain cards that are more in demand than others, but like the higher, it's such a dumb statement to say, but it's like, what are we talking about here? The higher the pop, the higher the pop. So like the lower the lower. I mean, sub 100 is very, very low. Sub 1,000 is lower. Sub 10,000 is like pretty damn high, but it's lower than 50,000. So it's a weird question to me. I mean, the lower the pop, the lower the pop.
Yeah, I don't have like a easy answer for it. I think, to be honest with you, when you ask me low pop, you would have to go by like sets, base
It's all
set, jungle,
relative.
fossil.
Yeah.
Yeah, base set 2, Team Rocket, the Neos, the Gyms, your Legendary Collection, Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge. Like for Skyridge, reverse hollows, if you ask me what's low pop, I'd say anything less than 10. Reverse hollow Skyridge, that's a low pop. Now, you get to you you rewind a little bit before that and you get to like the super printed stuff like base set. I'm gonna say PSA 10s for base set unlimited hollows. Anything less than 4 or 500, I would say is low pop. Like I think of the higher unlimited hollows, like your Mewtwo's, right? I think Mewtwo is in a 10, like 610 or something. It's like over 600. But it's, I mean, I just went from saying in Skyridge less than 10, but for unlimited hollows, less than 500 is low pop. So it's super subjective. Or when you now fast forward to modern Pokemon, when you look at a card like a Moonbreon and stuff, and then you start to get to 5,000 plus of them graded, or you look at Champion's Path Charizard V promo and it's 60,000 of them graded, like then the conversation changes on what's potentially low pop too. And for modern, low pop is very subjective because it's never a question of if it could be high pop. It's just people are usually just not great in it. Like you can make the argument that there are some set cards in commons, uncommons, non reverse rares, just random set cards that are pop 0. You still call that low pop. It's like, I guess by definition it's low pop, but in reality nobody cares. So it's it's a tougher conversation than I think that question leads on.
Yeah. Chemo wants to
I'm getting
know.
ranty tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Chemo wants to know, do you wash your hands with soap before handling cards you want to grade? I get paranoid about getting oil on them. Don't worry, you're more paranoid than your graders are. So whatever you do, you might still get fingerprints, you might get mayonnaise, you might get hair, you might get all different kinds of things in the grading process on your cards. Shout out to Rattle.
I do wash my hands before I handle cards, but I don't wear gloves or anything.
Yeah,
But I mean, most of my cards, after they're pulled or after I attain them, they're usually already in penny sleeves for the most part. Like, there's very, very rare occasions where I'm handling like a ton of raw cards and I still need to penny sleeve them and then card saver one them. So that's actually rarer than handling already sleeved cards.
Yeah, gloves are way overkill. I know that, like, I actually watch open boosters, a little bit of Magic content. I'm not a big Magic guy. I don't know much about it. I've bought like the Magic 30th. I bought a beta pack and a box break. But when he uses like gloves to open cards and to open packs, it just feels like, what are you doing here? Just wash your hands, make sure they're clean, do the obvious things, and make sure you're good to go. Immediately put them in penny sleeves, handle them carefully, and you're good to go.
I think that's more so. I'd be curious as to why he wears gloves. I think that's more so his like brand now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But personally, I think wearing gloves or wearing anything like that, I think it's overall a bad thing because you have like less control over how you're opening the pack.
Yeah. No dexterity with your fingertips or anything.
Yep.
The bigger concern for me now with like you've talked about it, Dan, like clipping your fingernails before going live or doing a YouTube video where you're showing cards. I gotta be an official hand model over there.
Fingernail check.
Leonhardt has some nasty fingers sometimes.
You go into Facebook Marketplace, you'll see some absolutely like, hey, you have a Moonbryon with those cruddy nails you've got handling that thing. It's like, that thing cannot be a PSA 8. Tom B says, how do you guys feel about paying for a promoted listing on eBay? Honestly, if you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have said I don't like the pay to play. I don't like the pay to win. But if you objectively look at it from like a position of just, this is the world we live in, this is reality, look at billboards, look at commercials, look at end caps in your grocery store, look at the checkout lane in your grocery store. People pay for premium placement. Consumer eyes are very valuable. People are allergic to money. And if you put yourself in front of a hungry consumer, I'm not talking hungry as in like hungry for food. I'm talking hungry to like spend money and rid themselves of money. That is a valuable position to be in. So paying for that first eBay slot, paying for that billboard in the premium spot on the highway, paying for that end cap on the first row at Walmart, Target, wherever it may be. I understand it. It's prevalent. It's ubiquitous, actually, in marketing throughout the world, every product everywhere. So it's not surprising it exists on eBay, is my thoughts.
I like them, especially for auctions. I don't like them so much for buy it nows, but I've mentioned this before on my channel. In theory, promoted listings should never work because, in theory, the person buying an item should always be searching lowest price plus shipping for whatever that item is, especially graded cards. But just the reality we live in that people just do not do that. They will click on the promoted listing, they will buy the promoted listing. So,
Yep.
I mean, is it a good thing? I guess. I mean, I like it for auctions because for auctions, for 5 day, it's $1.99. For 2 day, it's or for 7 day, it's $1.99. For 10 day, it's $2.49. So, and it doesn't matter the end price. So if you have a super liquid item that you know is going to sell, if you were to do a buy it now for that listing, you could potentially be paying between 7 and 12% final value fees. Where if you do a promoted listing for an auction, you start that auction at a penny, you only pay potentially $1.99 for a 7 day auction. That's where I like promoted listings a lot more.
Yeah, I never used to like promoted listings, giving eBay more money than I actually needed to. But this past year, I've started doing more and more promoted listings, and it does work. You get more views, you get more sales. So, unfortunately, it's just something that you need to do at this point. Not on everything, but on like those select items where you have a ton of competition, or if you have a bunch of one card listed within the same listing. I think it does work, and I think it's something that people need to take more advantage of. You're giving eBay a little bit more money, but you're going to make that sale. You're going to make it quicker, and you could probably also get more money than someone who just lists it as a normal buy it now or whatever.
Here's a good question by Chef954. What would make you buy a graded card that's not a 10? To me, it's 10 or nothing. Do you think that's foolish to think that way? Me personally, unless it's like at such a discount to current market that I can just immediately flip it, I will never buy a graded card ever again for any reason whatsoever. That is literally where I'm at in the hobby. Like, I just, the market values, maybe 2 years from now, 5 years, 10, 20 years from now, the market fundamentally changes and people value graded cards differently, and I see more value. But as of today, the landscape of today, I am not a buyer of any graded slab whatsoever. 10, 9, 8, black label, I don't care. The market just overvalues graded cards relative to how I value them personally. What about you guys?
I mean, for me, I'd easily buy a 9, especially like stuff that's super hard to source myself. Things that I can't potentially open, like first edition base, mid-era Nintendo sets that there's a lot of check boxes I still have for my personal collection, so I'd be fine with picking up a 9 for those. I still am a collector. No matter how much I talk about the money, no matter how much I talk about the flipping, I still am a collector. So there are still cards that I know that I can't possibly attain, and a lot of these cards, especially in 9, the price is to pick up a lot of these cards raw. It just makes more sense for me to pick up 9. So that's where I fall on that.
Yeah, I can understand people only wanting to buy tens. Personally, I'm more so like Dan and PK. I'm fine with, or I guess PK, since Dan doesn't collect. Fine buying
Why
nines.
do you even hear Dan?
Look,
Jesus.
look at all these things behind me. It's PokeFlipz. It's not PokeCollects. Come on.
This coming from the same guy that owns a Moonbryon and a PSA 10.
Oh, that's an investment piece.
um,
Come on.
yeah, no. Normally, I'm fine with nines. There's a few cards that I do want tens of, like my Squirtle. Absolutely love that card. Perfectly fine paying what I paid for it, just to have that perfect 10 copy because it meant so much to me. No damage Ninetales, that would be another one. I don't care what the condition of that card is. One day I want to have that 10. So certain cards like that, I do value the 10, that big number on the label. But for the most part, just like personally, I'm fine buying nines, eights, for stuff for my personal collection.
This comment is funny to me. I feel like CGC was only viable because of their heritage. Comics, coins, paper money, etc. So it's like saying, I feel like a company was only deemed viable or reputable because of their viable, reputable history. Like, does that not make sense? I mean, CGC is owned by the same company. I forget, like, PSA is owned by Collectors Holdings, which used to be Collectors Universe. PSA is owned by the same coin people that do PCGS. And CGC is owned by the same coin people that do NGC. And CGC is obviously CGC Comics. So, like, this comment is basically, CGC was only viable because they showed that they had a standing to make, like, validity and legitimacy in the comics, coins, paper money markets. Like, that matters, doesn't it? Doesn't a company that has decades or years of established legitimacy in other markets, doesn't that matter? I think that matters. I feel like this comment, and I apologize if I'm reading it incorrectly, but I feel like it has this connotation that like negative towards CGC. They only mattered because they had these things in other markets. That matters, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CGC would not have been able to come the number 2 or number 3. I would think number 2 by now. For Pokemon grading company, had it not been for their past history with comics, coins, paper money, all that stuff.
And I'm bad with paper money. I think I know Rudy has talked about paper money a little bit from time to time. Paper money is actually something that I've looked into more like Collector Boy Dan than Investor Dan or Business Dan. But I forget what the major companies are for paper money, but I'm pretty sure one of them is actually the NGC, CGC umbrella. I'm pretty sure CGC is like a subsidiary or a sister or whatever kind of company to the major paper money company. But I could be wrong.
I forget what the acronym is, but it's PCCGS, which is PCGS, Collector's Universe, and whatever the NGC equivalent is.
There we go. PK has a red Note 20. PMG.
It's the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Dan.
There you go. Like I honestly, there are so many notes out there that are very historic. That like my core collector boy Dan was born in coins and money, and someday I want to revisit that. Someday I want to get back to that, but it's not. It's just not anytime soon. But yeah, I just googled it. PMG, paper money grading, is one of the biggest third-party grading companies for paper money. And then that's NGC, that's CGC for cards, that's CGC for comics, CSG, CGC for sports, that whole switch they've made. But like I think past legitimacy in other avenues lends itself to like future legitimacy in other markets too. Old Card Shop says, "What's the most you'll spend for the least amount of profit?"
Let you answer that one.
And PK, or not PK, Old Card Shop further says, "Would you buy a box of base set for 14,000 to sell for 14,250 packed out? If not, you and Dan are not the same." So the least amount of margin I'm willing to make is dependent on the one. It's like a percentage. One, it's a percentage basis, and two, it's a risk basis. So if I can guaranteed buy something now for 100 and sell it for 110, 2 minutes later, like 110 net. I'm not talking 110 gross minus fees, blah blah blah, lose money. I'm talking for 110 net. If I can make $10 in 2 seconds, 10 minutes, I will do that. So it's all relative to like what's the risk, what's the turnaround time, and all these other considerations. Like I know Nick, was it Denver? You bought some Japanese booster box, and then you literally like turn around, and 3 minutes later you sold it for some like massive margin. I'm sure you would have done it for less had you already had the buyer, but like you made a good margin, knowing that you could make a good margin. Not yet having the buyer, but like yeah, it all depends on like the certainty in the sale on the other side.
Yeah, That's the biggest thing. How quickly are you able to sell it? If you're able to sell it instantly for a small profit, then yeah, absolutely. If it's gonna take longer, then you need a bigger margin.
Yep.
I've even gone as far as like building a good eBay live stream. I was at a local card show, and I was just buying cool cards that I knew would do well. A lot of alt arts, waifus, stuff like that. And I was paying really good prices for these cards. To the point where I was thinking to myself, I'm probably not gonna make money on this stuff. I'm probably gonna break even, take a slight loss on it. And at the time, I was fine doing that, just to have a good stream and kind of build up that following and all that stuff. Um, as it turned out, I actually made a small profit on that stuff, which was awesome. But it really depends on the situation. Like for me with these lives right now, I'm okay not getting as much as I could through the buy it nows. I'm okay making a small profit, losing money here and there. Um, as long as as long as it pays off in the long run, where I'm able to build up this following and do well in the long term. So it really depends on a lot of factors.
This is actually a really interesting question that I've thought about recently. The Hoenn Bazaar says, do you feel that Pokemon in popularity is just as popular with kids these days as it was in 1999? So I'm obviously very biased in that in 1999, I was a fifth grader, and today I'm a 33-year-old. So I'm not as in touch with what kids are today and what they're into. But it's this weird dynamic where Pokemon printed 9.7 billion cards last year, and the year prior they printed 9.3 or 9.1, whatever it was. They're printing more cards today than they did in 1999. But honestly, to answer this question, like truthfully and realistically, I do not think Pokemon is as ubiquitous as it was in 1999. I mean, this is purely anecdotal. My wife is a teacher. Every year over the past several years, she has had kids interested in Pokemon. But percentage-wise, it is not to the extent that I think it was in 1999. Very interesting dynamic, very interesting scenario where they're printing more than they ever were, but I think that it is not as ubiquitous. It's a very different world. Social media, the internet, smartphones, this and that, all these different things we can dive into. But me personally, my opinion is that it is not as ubiquitous. You have Fortnite, you have Minecraft, you have all these different things, all these different social media, Netflix, all these different streaming platforms. I think there's just so many more things pulling attention in different directions. Whereas in 1999, on a raw, like number percentage basis, I think you would have had more kids. And that's not like saying that's bullish or bearish on the future of Pokemon. That's just like, that's my opinion on answering this question. Very interested to hear what you guys think on that.
I would, I would agree with you, Dan. I think back in '99, there were very, very few adults collecting Pokemon. It was all around our generation and kids collecting Pokemon, and you could literally find Pokemon everywhere, and there were news stories talking about it, whether it was good or bad or whatever. Whereas today, I think you have a lot more adult collectors like us, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Plus you have kids collecting them. But I don't think it is as popular with kids today as it was back in '99. It's kind of tough to tell though, since we're not the ones in school.
Yeah.
I guess we need to We just need to start hanging out around middle schools, asking kids if they collect Pokemon.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna happen.
Hey kid, do you want to come to my car and check out these Pokemon cards?
Yeah, see my windowless van? I got Pokemon cards in there. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's not. This is tough. There's a lot of kids in Pokemon right now, but compared to 99, probably not as much. I think there's. I mean, the obvious answer is there's way more adults, but kids. It's just like Nick mentioned. Like I don't have a good enough sense on that market, so I'm not sure. But hard to say. But I feel like not there was more kids in 99, but I'm super biased because I lived it. I lived that 99 craziness.
Yeah, it's hard to remove yourself, and obviously PK and Dan and Nick 25 years later, how unbiased can we be? How like not even bias, it's just like memory and history and time. We can't really separate ourselves from that. So following up on the earlier question, the Hoenn Bazaar says, do you promote for the dynamic competitive rate or a flat rate? I have personally never used the dynamic suggested rate from eBay. I've always manually inputted a fixed rate. One thing that I just, in maybe a couple years from now, I'll change my opinion. But as of today, one thing that I have a hard time doing is like, I have a card. I know what I paid. I know what I paid to grade it. I know what my cost basis is. I am willing to say like 5%, 10%, whatever percent it takes. I know what that number is, and I can do the math in my head. But if I just leave it up to eBay, whether they think like 5% is good today or 20% is good tomorrow, I just can't do the math on an active basis for 2,500 listings. So as of today, I personally go flat rate only that I set manually up front. And who knows, someday maybe I'll change. What about you guys?
Have you ever looked into what like just a straight 1% promotion rate would do for the algorithm?
I
Did
think
anybody ever look into that?
I think 2% is the minimum now. You used to be able to do lower, but I've honestly not dove too in depth because like eBay is amazing as far as click-through rate, impressions, the amount of data that you can get in your traffic report on eBay is actually like fantastic. And I've underutilized that historically. It's probably something I should be better about. It's something I should do more of. And it's something I've had on my list to do more of in the future. But as of today, it's like, yeah, I've talked about it before on my own channel and probably on PokeFlipz as well. If I have the only one or one of the only ones and I'm low list, I'm less likely to do promoted rates because it's like, think about the grocery store. If you are doing a Coca-Cola product, if you're doing Coca-Cola versus Pepsi-Cola, whoever pays more to get the checkout lane is more likely to get the sale. But if you're selling like, if you're not selling a regular staple product, if you're not selling like a sour cream and onion chip or a salt and vinegar chip, if you're selling like some random obscure flavor way back in aisle 27, the only people who are going to find that are the ones that physically go back to aisle 27. You don't have to promote aisle 27 stuff. You have to promote Coke. You have to promote sour cream and onion chips. You have to promote like just plain potato chips because there's 20 brands of plain potato chips. But you don't have to promote a PSA 9 mid-era obscure promo that you're one of the 3 listed and you're the cheapest. Because disproportionately, those people are going to be the ones that search by low list and find you and buy your listing. That's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you there. I always do the flat rate as well. Usually either 5 or 10%, depending on what the item is. Never done the dynamic. I don't like the idea of that changing constantly. 'Cause I feel like at that point, wouldn't you just kind of be getting into like a bidding war against other people? So like say you start off at 5%, the next person goes up to 6%, yours automatically goes up to 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. I don't like the idea of that. And then the other thing that I really don't like the idea of is the new one where you're paying per click. That one I really don't like the idea of that one.
Yeah.
I like these promoted listings where you're at least not paying a fee until you have that guaranteed sale.
Yeah. No, I got
And
nothing to add to that. I think you guys nail on the head on that one.
And here's a comment by the Pokemon Dentist, but Coca-Cola is on sale every week and Pepsi the other. Even though they're the household name, they still spend a ton and give huge discounts to properly market their company. If you are trying to sell SM210s, if you're trying to sell Sword Shield 50s, if you're trying to sell 001 SVPs, at that volume, at that quantity, at that competition, you need more marketing tools. If you're trying to sell a PSA 9, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Unlimited Edition is rarer than the first edition, blah, 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 low pop, hollow, 8 in the world PSA 10s. Like, if you're trying to sell one of those random things like that, you don't need it as much. The Coca-Cola and Pepsi are not relevant to a mid-era, low pop, 1 of 3 listed thing that you're the low list. It's all dependent on what you're searching. Anytime you list an item, try to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. If you're listing an ultra niche card, you are going to be selling to an ultra niche, infrequent, like uncommon buyer. If you're listing a 001 SVP, that card is not special. That card is Coca-Cola. That card is Pepsi Cola. That card is all over the place. Pop 10,000. They're everywhere. You have to pay more money to move that card. Just like Coke, just like Pepsi, sales, coupons, end caps, checkout lanes, whatever it may be. You have to work to move those cards more. Even though it's like a super liquid popular species, there's just tons of it everywhere and there's competition. So just know what you're selling. With that, though, it is now after midnight. We are fully caught up in the chat as far as I can see. Shout out to PK. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great chat. PK will have Nat Turner on hopefully sometime very, very soon. His Instagram is linked. His YouTube is linked. Go check out all his stuff. He's public with his eBay. He has an affiliate link for his eBay. Click all those things, do all those things, buy some stuff. Anything you want to say in closing?
No, guys, I just appreciate both you guys so much. I'm glad I could I call both you guys my friends, and I I'm guessing we will probably talk, seeing how we talk a pretty lot. So I'll probably talk to you guys both before Charlotte. But if not, I'm looking forward to Charlotte. And if there's anybody at home who's still on the fence about Charlotte, listen, now is as good of a time as any to do your first Collecticon. We'll all be there. We're all welcoming. It'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time. But thank you for coming on, PK. Really do appreciate it. Always nice talking to you.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on Charlotte. Invest now. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. We hope to see you there. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out tonight.
Dan, do you know what I'm more bullish about than anything else in this hobby? I'm more bullish about like this little group we have in everybody in the live chat, everybody who watches these lives. I'm more bullish about this group of people than anything else in this hobby, hands down.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned it earlier, PK, but like if anyone is hesitating, if it's money, if you can't afford it, like don't stretch yourself thin. Don't honestly, like Sincerely, don't FOMO into an event. There's tons of event every year. Wait for one to come local to you that's more affordable to travel to. But if you can make it to Charlotte, I am section 30. Nick, what section are you? Do you remember?
I forget the number.
Nick doesn't remember.
Right next to Chumley, though.
Nick is next to Chumley.
I'm in Nick's section.
I am section 30. There are 5 sections out there of very approachable people. Come say that you saw us on the PokeFlipz podcast. Come say that you saw us on PK on Poke Knowledge Cards. Come say that you saw us on Catch 'em All Collectibles, Old School Pokemon, eBay Live, wherever it was. Like, break the ice. We will be the ones to come say hi, and it will be a great weekend, I'm sure. Like-minded people that have a shared passion, it's always a blast.
And if you say you came from Old School Pokemon's YouTube channel, then we know you're really an OG because you've been around for a while because that man doesn't make content anymore.
Yeah, that thing's been barren for like a year and a half now, maybe like 5 years, I don't know. But we very much appreciate everyone watching. Be sure to check out all the links below. Go find PK everywhere he is, and we will catch you all later.